The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone present to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Major Sean S. Lee, Regimental Chaplain of the U.S. Corps of Cadets, will deliver today's invocation. Major Lee.
Thank you, sir. I invite you to join with me in prayer. Eternal God, steadfast Creator, our help in ages past and our hope for years to come, I thank you for the great state of New York and this Senate. You know the hearts of the millions who call New York home, and I thank you for the people of this diverse and blessed state, which has helped form this nation from its infancy and welcomed immigrants for generations. May each senator here serve their people faithfully. Grant wisdom to each of the 63 of them to carefully deliberate and consider the work set before them. Strengthen the staff who serve the Senate, that the fruit of their labors would be justice and righteousness. May their work and their words bridge their differences and challenges. Grant your peace for each meeting, each hearing, each committee, and each session, that New York State would be led with prudence and with wisdom. I thank you for New York's historic relationship with the United States Military Academy. May New York State long continue to provide the nation with a challenging and fertile ground to educate, train, and inspire America's future leaders. Excelsior, I pray. Amen.
Reading of the journal.
In Senate, Tuesday, April 25th, 2023, Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The journal of Monday, April 24th, 2023 was read and approved. On motion, the Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the journal stands approved as read. Presentation of petitions. Messages from the Assembly. Secretary Reed.
Senator Breslin moves to discharge from the Committee on Finance. Assembly Bill number 3172A and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 5889, third reading count is 626.
So ordered. Messages from the Governor. Reports of standing committees. Reports of select committees. Communications and reports from state offices. Motions and resolutions. Senator Gianaris.
Good morning, Mr. President. I wish to call up the following bills which were recalled from the Assembly and are now at the desk. Senate print numbers 2060 and 1851.
The amendments on those bills are received. Secretary Reed.
Calendar number 231, Senate Print 1851 by Senator Hinchey, an act to amend the Public Service Law. Calendar number 241, Senate Print 2060 by Senator Stavisky, an act to amend the Education Law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Before we call the roll, Mr. President, I move to reconsider the vote by which the bills were passed.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White. Ayes 55.
The amendments are received and those bills will retain their place in the third reading calendar. Senator Gianaris.
I now offer the following amendments on those bills.
The amendments are received and the bills will retain their place in the third reading calendar. Senator Gianaris.
Okay, can we now take up previously adopted resolution 705 by Senator Skoufis? Read that resolution's title and recognize Majority Leader Andrew Stewart Cousins.
The Secretary will read.
Senate Resolution 705 by Senator Skoufis, memorializing Governor Kathy Hochul to proclaim April 26, 2023 as West Point Day in New York State.
Leader Stewart Cousins on the resolution.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And I want to thank Senator Skoufis for continuing this great tradition of West Point Day. I also want to thank our newly minted Veterans Chair, Senator Scarcella Spanton. And also, of course, I want to thank West Point for always being partners as we elevate the service that we get from you who are serving and graduating from West Point. I want to thank Major Sean Lee, the chaplain, for the beautiful prayer. Thank you so much. We always need strong blessings, so I appreciate it. And I know we will hear from from Lieutenant General Stephen Gilland, the 61st Superintendent of the United States Military Academy. We are a little bit tardy today. We generally start on time because we understand that it is important in your tradition, and certainly we try and make it our tradition to get to work and stay focused, and we like to do it on time. But today was one of those days that there was a confluence of circumstances. Today, for the first time, we've honored Korean War veterans, and that happened in the well earlier. And the buses were a little bit late, so they got here a little bit late, and we'll hear more about them later. But I thought it was also kind of a great thing to happen, because it is reminding us that service never stops. It is an intergenerational celebration that we'll be having today of service and valor. West Point and its 70-year history of doing this, the idea of West Point dates back to President George Washington. It was created under President Jefferson, formalized by Brigadier General Sylvanus Thayer. West Point has become synonymous with Eisenhower, Patton, Bradley, Ulysses S. Grant, William Tecumseh Sherman, Black Jack Pershing, and the first female graduate who shares my first name, Andrea Holland. Here in our chamber, our former senator and Korean War veteran who's since passed on, Bill Larkin, and many others, including the brother of Senator Breslin, Mike Breslin, who is here today as well. As I look at the class of young cadets before us, we'll know your names, because I know you bring the same courage, the same dedication, the same honor that West Point has upheld for centuries. We commend you all for taking the crucial action and to serve as a beacon of hope, even as we face immense uncertainties. You should all feel incredibly proud of yourselves for answering your highest call, our nation's highest call, and finding your passion so early in life. On days like this, I'm reminded of my own family members, my dad, who served in World War II, my brother, who served in Vietnam. Their sacrifices and their service had a profound effect on my own life, and it always serves as a reminder to always put others first. I know this is the same thing that exists in the character of this class today. The commitment that you've made for the greater good shows that you have a conviction, a dedication, and a drive. Within every challenge that we face lies an opportunity to strengthen our resolve and to dig deeper on the values that we hold dear. I wish all of you the strength going forward and offer this chamber's friendship and support for what you do. Even with my father and brother being in military during wartime, it will always be hard for civilians like myself to truly grasp the magnitude and the intensity and the horror of war that exists every hour of every day. We know that the cadets in this chamber are going to be on the front line somewhere in this world, keeping us safe and standing up for the ideals that America holds so dear. For the rest of your lives, our state and nation will forever be in your debt. The service you give cannot be repaid, but it will always be honored. We're grateful for you, for your families, and for everything you do and will do on behalf of our country. I pledge you now to never overlook your service or commitment, to continue working on your behalf, and to always back our appreciation with words and actions and listening, because what you experience, you bring back to us, and if we can make it better for the next set of cadets, that's what we will do. So again, I thank you so much for continuing this great tradition and honoring our chamber. And again, we will see you after all the ceremonies for lunch, and you will be sharing that lunch with our Korean War veterans again. I think it'll be a great and amazing intergenerational celebration of service. Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Leader. Senator Skoufis on the resolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And it's always a privilege to follow the Majority Leader on this day and any day, but her words certainly ring so true about the importance of this day and the importance of the people that we're celebrating today. Before I get to speaking on the resolution and some remarks, I do want to acknowledge the folks who made the trip up here and make this day possible. First, from West Point's leadership, and we'll hear from him in a moment, we have Lieutenant General Stephen Gilland, who's the 61st Superintendent of the United States Military Academy. It's an honor to have you up here today. He's also joined by Lieutenant Colonel Matthew C. Dawson, Executive Officer to the Superintendent, Lieutenant Colonel Beth Smith, USMA Public Affairs Officer. We heard from Major Sean S. Lee, Regimental Chaplain. Thank you for your beautiful words earlier. And we're also joined by First Captain Lauren Drysdale, who I'm told is a shining star in the ranks of the cadets, and we look forward to what your future holds in store for you. We also are joined by a number of support personnel, Mr. Jim Fox, USMA Public Affairs Office, Mr. Matthew D. Hintz from the same office, and was a special shout out, really a primary person that made this day possible from West Point's end, as well as Sergeant First Class Luisito Brooks and Sergeant First Class Ryan J. Weiss. From the Senate side, I do want to thank, in addition to the Majority Leader, and in addition to my colleague who we'll hear from, Senator Scarcella Spanton, who is doing an incredible job leading the Veterans Affairs Committee. I also want to thank Shelley Andrews, Jordine Jones, Shane Jones, and of course, Ali Paulino for helping make today possible. I won't introduce by name individually the cadets. We will, my colleagues, you all, who represent each of these cadets, will have a chance to introduce them, and so I will save that for you all. So if I may now, on the resolution, Mr. President, it is my great honor and privilege to rise today as a senator representing the 42nd District, home to the United States Military Academy, on this 71st anniversary of West Point Day, a cherished tradition here in the halls of the Capitol, and a morning of great pride to all my colleagues, no doubt, as well as past senators over that time, including, as was mentioned before, my predecessor, Colonel Bill Larkin. As the oldest continuously occupied Army post in the United States, the United States Military Academy at West Point played a substantial role, as you all know, in the founding of this nation, and continues to produce the kinds of leaders and defenders of American democracy that we need today. Perched proudly atop the west bank of the mighty Hudson River, West Point stands as a beacon to all who believe in our shared American ideals, a symbol of democracy and freedom for those called to action, to honor, and to our country. It stands as a looming reminder to all who wind their way up the river that the story of this great democratic experiment is a document still being written, the subsequent chapters of which are yet unknown. Cadets, if you'll grant me a bit of an aside, those who know me are likely aware of my fascination with all things space. The possibility, the uncertainty, the expansive nature of everything out there, and what it can mean for those of us right here. Indeed, the most iconic embodiment of the unknown. To cast one's gaze into a void the size of which we couldn't possibly fathom, and to think, this unknown is worth knowing, is an impulse rooted in bravery and human spirit. The grit required to persist in the face of unknowable odds at the edges of our abilities is a quality I think more of us should strive for. You cadets have exactly this quality. It's what brought you to West Point in the first place. by pursuing your education in those hallowed halls and the commitment to protect our nation and our values that is forthcoming for all of you. You're boldly proclaiming to the world that this democracy we cherish, a story still being written right here in this chamber, the future of which is yet uncertain, is worth defending. It's worth showing up for. So today, my colleagues and I are honored to show up for you. We are humbled by your grit and will never lose sight of it. And we are so proud of the futures you've yet to write for yourselves and to this great country. In remarks to the National Defense Forum in December, our U.S. Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, himself a West Point grad, said, "In this decisive decade, let us pledge again to be the dreamers, the builders, and the doers. Let us forge a world of greater security, prosperity, and liberty, and let us meet America's challenges with confidence." This is your charge. Greet the unknown with decisiveness. Dream, build, and do. Thank you, Mr. President. And last but certainly not least, go Army and beat Navy. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Skoufis. Senator Ort on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins for continuing this tradition. I certainly want to thank the sponsor for continuing to carry the resolution. He mentioned former Senator Bill Larkin, Colonel Bill Larkin. We used to always call him Colonel. We never even called him Senator. He was Colonel Larkin. This was his pride and joy. This day was his proudest day as a New York State Senator each and every year, not just because West Point was in the district, but because of what West Point meant to New York State, to the country, and I would argue the world. Senator Gallivan and I were conversing, and he mentioned, and I think this is true, he said, look how young the cadets look. And that's important, I think, because a lot of times when people think of combat leaders, they think of fighting men and women. They do not think of 22-year-olds, 21-year-olds. They don't think of their children. They think of sort of a grizzled, older person who has lived a full life maybe. And the reality is our fighting is and always has been done largely by young people, people who today we would call kids. In many situations, we think about young people today and we think about maybe they're aimless, they're looking for themselves, they're trying to find themselves. Who are they really? These cadets here do not have that problem. They know exactly who they are, they know exactly what they're being trained to do. And the Academy at West Point, Military Academy at West Point, is not just to produce second lieutenants for the Army, although that's the 50-meter target, but in the big picture, it is there to create, to make, to educate the future leaders of the United States military, future Joint Chiefs, future, 2, 3, 4-star generals. That is what the Military Academy at West Point was designed to do, to create the future leaders of the United States Army and the United States military. And it does, and it has done that. And you are now the heirs to that legacy. And it's a legacy that continues to be important, continues to be questioned as to the role of the United States, not only abroad, in an increasingly hostile world where other countries and other powers are trying to challenge the role of the United States, the role of free democratic government, and you are what underlies that. It's not words, it's not documents, it's not speeches, although those are all part of it. But at the end of the day, it is young people like yourself who are willing to say, I will put my life on the line for the idea that is the United States of America, for the ideals that are embodied in our Constitution. You make them a reality. Your presence here is a reminder to all of us the real cost that it takes to govern and defend a republic. And I applaud you for your commitment. I applaud you for being here today. It's an honor for me. It's an honor for all of us. We have several veterans in this room, in this chamber. Senator Steck, Senator Walczyk, Senator Ashby. I know Senator Sanders. I'm not sure if I'm missing anybody, but all of us have worn various uniforms in our nation's military. I think Senator Sanders was a Marine. Senators Walczyk and Ashby and myself were Army, and don't hold us against him, but Senator Steck was Navy. And I'll close on a little lighter note, but you should know each year, Senator Steck and I have a bet on the Army-Navy football game. The winner gets to display the flag of the winning school in our conference room, where it is for the remainder of the year. So you will know that the West Point Army flag proudly is displayed right now in our conference room, thanks to your excellent victory last year, and I hope that it will not be going anywhere after this year. But it really is a pleasure to welcome you here, knowing what you're going to do. And I will remind people that the greatest way to preserve peace in the world, you're looking at them right now. That's really what you're there for. Yes, you're there to fight wars if they happen, but really you exist to preserve peace. And I think your presence in the United States military has done that over its history, and you again are heirs to that history. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your service. Go Army, beat Navy.
Thank you, Senator Ort. It is now my honor and pleasure to introduce Lieutenant General Stephen Gillen, the 61st Superintendent of the United States Military Academy.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute honor to join you here today. Senator Stewart-Cousins, Senator Ort, members of this distinguished Senate, good morning, and thank you so much for having us, the United States Military Academy, here. And thank you all for your service to the state of New York. And on behalf of our amazing team at the United States Military Academy, we absolutely thank you for this recognition as we talk about what this day represents and 71 years in the running, and I absolutely am committed to continuing our part of this tradition. Senator Stewart-Cousins, ma'am, thank you for the opportunity to address this chamber, and Senator Skoufis, sir, thank you for hosting us today. It's been an absolute, it's been wonderful so far as we've come in and had the short tour and such. And I know that, the constituents of this great state, our cadets that are over here, they're learning a lot, and they are thankful to have this opportunity. And to Senator Scarcella Spanton, ma'am, thank you and your committee for all you do for our veterans and our service members in this great state. There is a very special group I'd like to acknowledge, and that's the distinguished group of veterans of the Korean War. Right up here. Gentlemen, thank you all. I think I've got some over here. Gentlemen, I salute you, and it's our honor and privilege to have you here today. This year marks the 70 years since the signing of the armistice that brought that war to an end, and as we do, it's a humble privilege to recognize this incredible group for their service and sacrifice, as well as all the men and women who so bravely fought there, and to those who made the ultimate sacrifice. In the words of one of West Point's most esteemed graduates, President Eisenhower, they, quote, went to that far-off land to prove once again that only courage and sacrifice keeps freedom alive upon the earth, end quote. Our mission at the United States Military Academy is to educate, train, and inspire the future leaders of character for our Army and our nation. And these young men and women are just are a representative sample of those incredible young future leaders of our Army and our nation. And I can't think of anything more inspiring for us than to be in the presence of these amazing Americans. Gentlemen, we're honored to share the chamber with you today, and we thank you for your selfless service and devotion to duty. All right, so I would ask everyone another round of applause for our Korean War veterans. So since that cold January day in 1778, when General Samuel Parsons and his brigade crossed the frozen Hudson River to its west banks to establish a strategic defensive outpost against the British, West Point has been an important thread in the fabric of New York, and indeed our nation. So too have New Yorkers have been an important thread in the fabric of West Point, the United States Military Academy, and the United States Army. From John Livingston, New York's first graduate in the Academy's second class in 1803, to our West Point cadets joining us here today, they are representative of the men and women who call the Empire State home and have been an important part of the Corps cadets in the Long Gray Line, honorably serving our nation as leaders of character, not only in our Army, but in our government, business, academia, and more. And that's to say nothing of the countless New Yorkers serving as soldiers in the United States Army, the citizen soldiers of the National Guard and the Army Reserve, and our Army veterans and retirees, our soldiers for life, who continue to serve in various ways long after hanging up their uniform for the last time. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, the mission of the United States Military Academy is to educate, train, and inspire highly trained, disciplined, and fit leaders of tremendous character, prepared to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and to serve and to protect the United States of America. The Chief of Staff of the Army, General James McConville, speaks of the gold standard. And he says, when America looks to what right looks like, they look to the United States Military Academy at West Point. That is what we owe you, the citizens of our nation. That is my obligation as the superintendent of the United States Military Academy to deliver to you every single year. And that mission would not be possible without the tremendous support of our state leaders here in Albany, as well as from our neighbors throughout New York, Orange County, and the Hudson Valley region. So on behalf of the West Point community, we greatly appreciate that support. At West Point, we say it takes a village to develop leaders, and we are honored to have you all as part of that village. Likewise, we are committed to being good neighbors, not only with our local communities, but statewide. And we're always looking for ways to connect, build relationships, and work together on opportunities that will not only enhance the leader development experience, but also benefit the community. On behalf of the United States Army, we thank you for your continued help and support in inspiring a renewed call for service in our young people to help them see the Army as a place of possibilities and opportunity where they can be all that they can be. So thank you for your continued support and for honoring us today. Go Army.
Thank you for those words, Lieutenant General. Senator Scarcella-Spanton on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Skoufis, for all the work that you've done in the State Senate to recognize this historic institution of West Point. This prestigious organization has a long and storied history of producing leaders who have served our nation with distinction. But West Point is not just a training ground for military leaders. It is also an institution that instills in its cadets a deep sense of duty, honor, and country. The young men and women who attend West Point are some of the best and brightest that the country has to offer. They come from all corners of the country right here to New York united by a shared commitment to serving their country and protecting our freedoms. As we recognize West Point Day, let us also recognize the sacrifices that cadets make in order to attend this prestigious institution. They commit to serving in our military and putting their lives on the line to defend our freedoms. Thank you so much to the cadets of West Point who are preparing to serve our country. Your dedication to duty, honor, and country is an inspiration to us all, and as the wife of an Army grunt, not a West Point graduate, go Army. Thank you. I proudly vote aye.
Thank you. Senator Mannion on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is a great day here in the chamber, and as a grandson of a World War I veteran who came to this country with the hopes and dreams that would meet his expectations of all America had to offer, this confluence of generations is inspiring, it's meaningful, and as a grandchild of a veteran, I thank all of our veterans who are here today and thank our cadets for their service to our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mannion. Senator Stavisky on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to everybody. I'm not going to repeat the names, but each year when we have West Point Day, and there have been, I think, 71, and I've been here for a number of them, I still visualize Colonel Larkin sitting in the back row, describing his experience in various locations throughout the South and when he was in Korea. And we are here to make sure that the Korean War is not the forgotten war. We do recognize our friends from who helped save democracy in that part of the world, and we thank you for your service. Aside from Colonel Larkin, we also recognize Major Breslin, the brother of our esteemed state senator and a former Albany County executive. But I'm here today to recognize a constituent. His name is Arbin Hogue, and he lives in my Senate district in Queens Village. He is in his first year at West Point, a proud graduate of the public high school in, that's at York College. But his story, I must say, is a really compelling story. He was born in Bangladesh, and when he was about 6 years old, his father was with some friends in Dhaka, and they were buying lottery tickets. Now, I know we know our New York lottery, but he was in Bangladesh, he bought a lottery ticket, and he won. And what did he do with his earnings, with his winnings? He and his family came to the United States. The opportunity, the public education system that we have in the United States, and I chair the Committee on Higher Education, so I have a special interest in higher education, and while we don't consider West Point as a state institution, it still is public education that offers opportunity. And I can only visualize how proud his family will be in 4 years or 3 years when he graduates. His father and grandfather served in the military, and he will join the long gray line. We met the majority leader, and I thank her for her comments, and Senator Skoufis. But there were 2 presidents of the United States who graduated from West Point, Ulysses S. Grant and, of course, Dwight Eisenhower. Who knows where the 3rd president is going to be? It's going to happen. And we have such great opportunity for our cadets who are here today, and we thank them not for coming so much as for what they are going to do. So again, Mr. President, I thank you.
Thank you. Senator Tedisco on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my pleasure to welcome from the 44th Senate District in the town of Niskayuna, West Point Cadet Avanish Benke. Cadet Benke intends to serve the U.S. Army in intelligence and infantry. At West Point, he's studying applied statistics and data science. At Niskayuna High School, Cadet Benke ran track, played tennis, and was a member of the boxing team. And it's important to note that in his past year at West Point, he won a national championship, I believe, at the 119 weight measure. And congratulations to him on that unbelievable achievement, National Achievement Championship. I'm proud to welcome Cadet Benke and all our West Point cadets who truly represent and are a big part of the best, the brightest, most courageous and compassionate fighting force for good on earth, the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. Congratulations to all our cadets and to Cadet Benke. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Thomas on the resolution.
Welcome to the Capitol, West Point cadets. It's so nice. It's an honor for me to stand up here and introduce my favorite constituents from District 6, Moses Green and Carly Wolfell. Cadet Green was born and raised in Uniondale, New York, and attended high school overseas in China, becoming fluent in Mandarin, and then returned home to attend West Point. He majored in sociology and intends on joining the Air Defense Artillery. Cadet Wolfell is a Rockville Center native who is passionate about giving back and enjoying life. As a mechanical engineering major, Carly proved herself a fierce competitor as an engineer for the Steel Bridge competition team and intends on becoming a full-time bridge engineer or National Park Ranger. Moses and Carly, you make Senate District 6 so proud, and I know there are other Long Islanders among you as well. We are so proud of all of you. And as you and your fellow graduates embark on your careers in the military, know that you have our utmost respect and gratitude. Your dedication, hard work, and unwavering commitment to serving our country have brought you to this incredible milestone. You are the best and brightest of our nation's future leaders, and I have no doubt that you will continue to demonstrate the highest levels of integrity and excellence and will continue to make us so proud like you already are. Once again, congratulations. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
Thank you. Senator Rhodes on the resolution.
Mr. President, and I want to thank Senator Skoufis for introducing this resolution, our Majority Leader for being our gracious host today for our cadets and for our Korean War veterans. And I can certainly understand why Colonel Larkin felt as though this was his favorite day every single year to be here in this chamber. As having the honor of being a member here in the Senate for just under 4 months, I can certainly tell you it is my favorite day, because this is an opportunity for us as New Yorkers and for us as Americans to count our blessing. Because from the Battle of Lexington and Concord, before our nation was a nation, to the hills of Afghanistan and far-off places around the world today, we have been blessed. We've been blessed because every generation has produced men and women of exceptional courage and character who have worn the uniform of this country and served in defense of freedom both here at home and across the world. And today we have the opportunity to welcome the next generation of those who are willing to make that sacrifice. And I am honored to have one such individual from the 5th Senate District, that is Cadet Gregory Keys. Cadet Keys actually comes from Plainview, and I have the opportunity for the last 10 years to be the youth minister at St. Pius Church in Plainview, serving the Plainview Old Bethpage community. And though I didn't have the opportunity to know Gregory, I had a couple of kids in my program who do know Greg, and I was able to ask them about him. It is no surprise that he is here today, no surprise that he made the decision to commit himself and commit his life to service of our country, as have all of these fine men and women. Gregory actually, while he was in high school at Plainview Old Bethpage, actually created and founded the Supplies for Soldiers initiative, which actually shipped hundreds of pounds of supplies to soldiers that were stationed overseas. And said upon his graduation that for as long as I can remember, I've had a dream to serve our country, to give back, to make a difference in both this nation and abroad. And when my colleagues have spoken about you, Gregory, and your colleagues being the best and the brightest, that is certainly the case, and we are grateful for your service and for your sacrifice. It was President Reagan, I believe, who in his first inaugural address said, "Those who say today there are no heroes simply don't know where to look." And in this chamber today, both here on the floor with our cadets and with our Korean War veterans, we are surrounded gratefully by heroes. I want to thank you, Gregory, and welcome you on behalf of the Senate to this chamber. Thank you and your fellow cadets for your service and sacrifice and for reminding us and inspiring us what it is that we do here, why it's important, and in allowing us to recommit ourselves to providing a government that is worthy of that service and sacrifice. Thank you for being here. God bless.
Thank you. Senator May on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start by welcoming our Korean War veterans. My father served in the Navy in the Korean War, and I feel like I see his face in some of you up there, and I know how important your service and sacrifice has been. So thank you for gracing us with your presence today. And I also want to welcome my constituent, Hassan Grimes, who grew up in Syracuse and is making Syracuse very proud. You will graduate, I think, a month from today. And Hassan has big plans for some travel and R&R before heading to Georgia to continue his service to our country. So we look forward in Syracuse to supporting you in your chosen career of service, and we want you to know that we have your back, and we really are so proud of you. And to Cadet Hogue, I just want to say, I think our country is the one that won the lottery with you being able to come here and serve us as well. So thank you as well for your service. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Walczyk on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand in support of this resolution and to welcome all to what is a wonderful West Point Day. Lieutenant General Gillen, welcome to you and your command team. It's wonderful to have you in our house today. We sent you a North Country boy who is very important to us and we're very proud of. His name, if he would rise, is Cadet Kennedy Duncan. He grew up in Lowville, New York, just in the shadow, just south of Fort Drum. Graduated from Lowville Academy last year. He was team captain of both his varsity football and lacrosse teams, an active member of, and is today still an active member of the Hudson Hellfire Lacrosse Club. He's an economics major at West Point, and he's looking to branch either engineer or infantry, and I want to make this important distinction, first choice engineer. Essayons. He wants to go to the Sapper Leader course, which I highly recommend, and serve 20 years in the United States Army. I can tell you from a few short minutes with him, this young man has a heart of service and will lead our soldiers in our Army very well. FM 6-22, and I know, apologize to the cadets, but not everybody has studied military science or goes to the academy. But FM 6-22 is a leadership field manual in the Army. It gives a quick definition that I encourage you all to look at now and again because it's a great definition for leadership. It's the process of influencing. Leadership isn't a position that we hold or a position that somebody is thrust into. Leadership is a process. It's a process of listening, a process of observing, a process of giving purpose, and a process of motivating. America will send these West Point cadets their sons and daughters. And we want to thank you for volunteering to lead them, to following that process. Essayons, climb to glory, and Excelsior. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator White on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, as we celebrate the establishment of the United States Military Academy of West Point and honor the cadets who have stepped up to be future leaders in our military. The United States Military Academy at West Point has played a significant role in maintaining peace and freedom, and we owe a debt of gratitude to these young men and women. I am proud to recognize and welcome two amazing cadets from West Point from my district, Cadet Matthew Stuber and Cadet Lucas Volanti. Cadet Stuber was inspired by his grandfather, a Vietnam veteran, to serve his country. He currently majors in mechanical engineering, and after graduation, he plans to branch aviation and become an AH-64 Apache pilot and potentially pursue a career in the 160th SOAR. Cadet Volanti decided to attend West Point to challenge himself and serve his country. He currently majors in applied statistics and data science, and following graduation, hopes to commission as Air Defense Artillery Officer, eventually pursuing a JD MBA and move to New York City. To all our cadets, we thank you for your efforts and your continued support to our great nation. May God bless all of you, and may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Gennardis on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I'm sitting here listening to all of my colleagues speak, and we're here blessed with the presence of our Korean War veterans and our cadets, I can't help but think of my grandfather, who served this country in the Marines during World War II, and his brother, who served in the Navy, and his other brother, who served in the Army. And I was shaped by their experiences and with a deep sense of purpose and service, which I rise here to thank not only our Korean War veterans, but our future leaders of America, our future men and women who are going to defend this country. I think about West Point, and as growing up, I was a Boy Scout. Still am a Boy Scout. And we used to go camping every year, many times frequently, right across the river from West Point. Literally, we'd set our tents up right across the river. And there is no sight more beautiful than to wake up in the morning and see the campus of West Point emerging from an early morning fog. And every time I looked at that school, and every time I can close my eyes and picture it, I think of leadership. I think of excellence. I think of service. And it's those values that I rise to commend a cadet from my district, Cadet Jingyu Chen, who grew up in Bay Ridge. And as someone who used to represent Fort Hamilton Army Garrison, the only active military installation in New York City, I rise with immense pride to recognize and honor Cadet Chen. West Point has a storied history, and Cadet Chen is following in the footsteps of so many servicemen and women who came before him. And he enlisted right out of high school. He graduated what is indisputably the best high school in the United States of America, Fort Hamilton High School, a high school that I'm proud to call my own alma mater. He enlisted and served for 3 years. And what I think is a true measure of someone's abilities and their potential is not when you recognize something in yourself, but when others recognize something in you. And Cadet Chen was, I think, fortunate in that his superiors saw something in him and helped him to apply for the military academy to pursue his future career in service of his country. The West Point motto dates back to the start when Thomas Jefferson was our president: duty, honor, and country. And I believe that Cadet Chen embodies that. And I'm proud to recognize him on this floor today. And I know that he will make not just his family proud, not just his community proud, but the entire city and state of New York proud. And we thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gennardis. Senator Mannion.
Thank you, Mr.
President, thank you for allowing me to rise again. As I spoke of my grandfather's service to the United States Army, I also was a public school teacher for a long period of time and had students who certainly went into military service and into the academies, and specifically the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. I will rise now to acknowledge a continuation of that great tradition in the 50th Senate District and in Central New York as I acknowledge Cadet Abby Brancato. We thank you, Cadet Brancato, for your service to our country, your service to the military, and your service beyond. Central New York has a great tradition of defending our country and also supporting our veterans. And I'm proud to be able to acknowledge you today. Thank you for your service, and I know that your service, as my former students did, will go well beyond the service to our military. So thank you. I commend you. All the best on your pursuit of a major in engineering management, and thank you for having me here today, for you coming today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Ashby on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a privilege to speak on this resolution, and I'd be remiss if I didn't welcome Major Mike Breslin into the chamber. It's a privilege to do that. Major Breslin, not only a West Point grad, but also a platoon leader in Vietnam. And when thinking and hearing about the potential and the background of all of these cadets, it's unbelievable to think that they're all in one place. It's unbelievable that they're all in New York State and they're all in West Point. And to think just over the last few years what we've gone through before that 20-plus years of war. And I want to thank the minority leader for his remarks. And when he was talking about this image of the veteran and how it contrasts with our West Point cadets, I couldn't help but thinking of nearly every single NCO that I served with, and how, in my mind, they are the real backbone of the service. But one of the things that is in contrast, and I think people often wonder about, is when cadets go through the experience at West Point and they come out, they may seem green in the service. They have gotten a supreme education, one that really cannot be matched. And they carry with them that education, but also the humility of good leaders. The humility to listen to their NCOs, to those who've served and supported them and guided them through their leadership process. And to me, as a veteran, as a former junior officer, it holds a special place. And I know that your desire to continue to serve will triumph over whatever doubt you encounter, whatever hardship you encounter throughout your time in service and beyond. I want to thank you very, very much for being here, for your servant's heart, and God bless you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Helming on the resolution.
Mr. President, I rise in support of this resolution and to welcome the leaders and the cadets of the United States Military Academy. Welcome to the Senate chamber. I'd like to take a moment to remember our dear friend, our former colleague, veteran, and proud American, Senator Colonel Bill Larkin. Colonel Larkin would be thrilled, absolutely thrilled, to see this body continuing his initiative of celebrating West Point Day. I'd like to thank Senator Skoufis for continuing Colonel Larkin's long-standing tradition. Thank you, Senator. Lieutenant General, to you and to your leadership team, I'd first like to thank you for your military service. Thank you. And for your tremendous commitment to educating, inspiring, and preparing our next generation of leaders. I offer you my personal gratitude as a New York State Senator, and as I mentioned to you earlier today, as the proud, very, very proud mother-in-law of a 2011 graduate, Captain Charles Sauter. To the cadets who are here today, it's my sincere privilege to pay tribute to you and to all of your fellow classmates back at West Point. I commend you for your commitment and your dedication to duty, honor, and country. Thank you for your service. There's something, as you already know, there's something so uniquely special about the campus. And I hope in your very busy schedules, you can take some time to just appreciate the beauty of the campus and the historical significance. And I certainly hope that you all have an opportunity to visit those 12 amazing granite benches, each etched with a word representing a key leadership virtue: compassion, courage, dedication, determination, dignity, discipline, integrity, loyalty, perseverance, responsibility, service, and trust. These benches serve as an important reminder of the qualities that are going to lead you to victory and success, not only on the battlefield, but throughout life. I wanted to mention Cadet Mackenzie Schertle, class of 2024. She's from my Senate district in the Finger Lakes region. Her mother, Donna, who's a member of my district office team, is here today to help us celebrate all of our cadets. Like many of you, Mackenzie is following in the footsteps of family members, including her father, retired Major Eric Schertle, class of 82, uncles Mike, class of 79, and Army Reserve Brigadier General Jed, class of 91. Mackenzie's sister Savannah and her husband are currently stationed in Italy. I'm grateful to the Schertle family and to each and every one of you and your families for your service and your sacrifice. It's an honor to be able to share this moment with all of you. You are this nation's next greatest generation, the newest members of the long gray line. You should be proud. We're all extremely proud of you. And I hope wherever you go from here, you can carry with you this moment, the pride, the patriotism, and the appreciation that is flowing through all of us in this chamber today. May God bless all of you. May God bless this great nation that we're privileged to live in, and go Army. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Comrie on the resolution.
Crank it up. I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to acknowledge first our Korean War veterans who are here today. I want to thank the leader and everyone that was able to create this opportunity to honor them for the first time. Thank you very much to them. I want to rise also to pay tribute to our yearly tradition to having the West Point cadets here. I know Senator Larkin is looking down, smiling on all of us for keeping this positive tradition and this important tradition going. I don't have a cadet. I would claim Ahmad since he went to York College for a minute, but that's not fair. Queens Village was in my district, but I lost it to redistricting, and now he's being taken care of by Senator Stavisky, and he's in good hands. I just wanted to acknowledge that, these cadets today are here. They're serving by choice. They have chosen to be in the service and to do the things necessary to defend us as citizens, defend us as Americans, and they are taking on the motto that this will defend, a motto citing the Army's commitment to protect democracy stateside here in the United States and ensure that we continue to have a system of government by the people and for the people. I am honored that you have committed yourselves and taken on this proud tradition to serve our country. Thank you very much. It's important that we continue to encourage people because it now is a volunteer service military to make sure that we continue to give them the best tools and the best resources so that they can be leaders in our country, that they can be qualified to be president, that they can be qualified to lead people and to make sure that our country can defend whatever we need to make sure that we can continue to stay strong as the United States of America. You are joining a great team and a great history. I know that as you are preparing to meet the needs of a modern American Army, I hope that the work of everyone that you encounter will continue to imbue in you the things that you need so that you'll be ready to serve our country if we ever get to that opportunity. Hopefully we don't. I also want to thank all of the service members that have ever served in our country in a military capacity, and I'm honored that my legislative director, Matthew Garcia, is now serving in the U.S. Army Military Police Reserves in the position of lieutenant. So I hope that we can all encourage all of our young people. As Senator Ord had said, it's the young people that are fighting our battles. We need to make sure that we pave the way for them by giving them a positive country that they want to fight for. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Breslin on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise first to salute all the Korean veterans who were here and their families for the service you provided us. Lieutenant General Gillen and the other Army officers, I salute you as well. And when we talk about this day, it's a day that everyone in this body looks forward to. For some of us, like myself, I live through it vicariously. For others, we look around at the problems that we're forced to face each day, and we worry about what lies ahead for our country. But when we see the cadets, and we see their backgrounds, and we see what they've done, we know that we don't have as much to worry about, and we're going to be in good hands. That's why we smile today as we look at you, the cadets. And as I also look around, I see my older brother, and coming from a very competitive, large Irish family who competed against each other, I never wanted to see him complimented. And but through the years, I've said there should be one day where I reach out and hug him, at least figuratively. And so to my brother Michael, who was West Point class of '61, who went there to play football and ended up playing varsity basketball and baseball. And then from West Point, went to jump school, ranger school, jungle warfare school, air transportation school, jump master school, became a company commander with the 82nd Airborne in Vietnam, and rose to the level of major in Vietnam, then came back and taught counterinsurgency at the College of the Americas to South American officers in Spanish. All this time, I was leisurely enjoying myself, going to college and having a good time. So there is a difference. And there's a difference for you, our future leaders, in what you are learning and what you will do. And as much as I've said about my brother, he's still my idol. He's still my friend. And we spent many years as law partners. He was the county executive for Albany County for 15 years before his retirement. And I said there was nothing better than Army training to allow you to be a politician. And I think that there's a lot of truth in that. But I salute, this is the happiest day we have. And I'm done with you, Michael, so you can relax, standing over there. And this is the day we look forward to. So again, I salute each and every veteran and thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Senator Harcum on the resolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First, I'd like to thank Senator Skoufis for this resolution. It's a really important one, and I thank you. I want to thank the Majority Leader for hosting not one but two events today. And we're in a chamber filled with heroes and future heroes. And to our Korean War veterans, we'll address you and give you praise during the next resolution. But for now, thank you for coming and welcome, and thank you for your service. As a son of a World War II combat veteran and the grandson of a World War I combat veteran, West Point was really very formative in my upbringing. I grew up about 20 minutes away from West Point, and we spent countless hours on the campus. A lot of it admittedly was tailgating for football games, but so much more in the museum, countless hours in the museum. I never got tired of the museum, watching the parade of cadets, walking around the campus, the monuments, the memorials. If people want to know about American history, they should just spend an afternoon at the West Point campus. So a lot of really poignant things have been said by my colleagues. I just want to say that we're grateful that you chose to go to West Point. With your credentials, you could have gone to any school in the nation, and you chose to serve our country in the United States Army. And with the history of West Point and the Army, you stand on the shoulders of giants. And they were just ordinary people who did extraordinary things when history called upon them to. And one day history may call upon you to do extraordinary things. But you have the best leadership, the best education, and the best training. And I just want you to know that we're all so proud of you. We wish you all the best. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I vote aye. And I did forget, whatever the endeavor, football or cornhole, beat Navy.
Thank you, Senator Harkin. Senator Canzoneri Fitzpatrick on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to welcome all the cadets, welcome Lieutenant Colonel, and thank the sponsor for today's resolution. I, too, am a granddaughter of a World War I vet who served in the Army as a private. My father is a graduate of another academy, the Coast Guard Academy, and is a Korean War vet. So to all the Korean War vets, I welcome you as well, and thank you. It's such an honor to recognize our veterans, to give service to your country and to your fellow Americans is the highest service that anybody can give. As a mom of kids that are roughly your age, I do applaud you as well for your focus and commitment to country and duty at such a young age. You are the future of our country, and I thank you for the commitment that you've made. Although they're not here today, I'd like to recognize two cadets from my district. John Davino, who I've watched grow up across the street from me, is a member of your lacrosse team, and Jake Curran, who happens to be the son of Assemblyman Brian Curran, both from my district, are at West Point. So I just want to acknowledge them and thank all of you for your service. God bless you and keep you safe.
Thank you. Senator Bailey on the resolution.
I just wanted to echo the sentiments of Senator Comrie. I want a cadet one day, right? I've been talking about this resolution for quite some time, and we have the Bronx and Mount Vernon. It's 2 counties. Y'all can get me a cadet one day. But it's not about me. It's about selflessness. It's about the drive that you have that, by choice. You decided to do something. So I just wanted to talk to you all for a minute and just direct my comments directly to the cadets. In life, there are often ages for certain things that we have to, that are mandated, right? 18 to vote or play lotto, 21 to drink if you so choose. But one of the things that there is no age for, there is no requirement for, is leadership. You were leaders before you enrolled in West Point. You are leaders now, and you will always be leaders. Now, the capacity of your leadership will change. I was speaking to Cadet Green earlier, and he mentioned the word try. And he quickly corrected himself, because try is not in your vocabulary. It is do. It is not what you want, it is when you're going to get it. It's just about a matter of how you will go about doing that. So, not if you're successful, when you're successful. I only ask that you do one thing. And I know America asks you to do a lot. But Senator Bailey's only going to ask you to do one thing. When you're successful, when you are Lieutenant General, when you are the President, when you are a high-ranking individual, when you are, not if, when, that you go back to those colleges, to those high schools, those elementary schools, those middle schools that you come from, because they see you as heroes right now. Imagine how they're going to look at you when you have those other ranks. So when you have the time, and I know it's a laborious regimen that you have, I've often told, and I think all my colleagues who have served, I couldn't have done it. I would have, after the first 5 push-ups, I would have said, I'm cool, I'm good. For those of us who didn't want to serve and benefit from your service, I know it's a lot to ask of you, but I just want to make sure that you go back to those communities that you come from. Because each of you can inspire 5 more of you. And in this volunteer military services that we had, we're going to continue to need young people like you to replenish the fuel for America. So I'm just eternally grateful that you've chosen the line of work that you've chosen. But it doesn't end here. And to our current enrolled and high-ranking military officials, I just thank you. Thank you, may you ring hollow, and we've often spoken on this floor. Veterans are more than just people we say thank you to on Veterans Day and Memorial Day and give you a discount on some food, and that's cool, and that's it, right? This chamber, under the leadership of Andrea Stewart Cousins, has never forgotten its commitment to you. And it's not a partisan thing either. Our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, they stand firm in their commitment to you, as do we. I want to thank the Korean War veterans. You are not forgotten. Just want to make sure that you know that unequivocally, you're not forgotten. We will never forget you. You put your life on the line when others, again, chose not to. So I just want to thank you for all the work that you've done in furtherance of that, and continue to walk proudly, knowing the work that you've done for people like me. I appreciate you all. And as I close, I'll just end with this. Growing up, all I knew about West Point was that it was like that they play football. I didn't know it was the finest military school that we had. I didn't know the quality of cadets that came from it. All I knew is that I watched Channel 2 and I saw Army versus Navy. And I don't want to get in trouble because, sometimes you can't interject yourself in these generational, conversations. But y'all know who I was rooting for. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Kennedy on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to stand with great pride on this incredible day and thank, first and foremost, all of the leaders of the military that have joined us here today, Lieutenant General and the administrators of West Point, to the West Point cadets, and to our extraordinary Korean War veterans and their families. I want to recognize our leader, Andrea Stewart Cousins, for continuing this amazing tradition here that I've had the true honor to be a part of for over a decade now. To Senator Skoufis for bringing this resolution to the floor and his eloquent words. To Senator Scarcella-Spanton, who's the chair of our Veterans Affairs Committee and the wife of a military man who did 2 tours in Afghanistan, who is leading our committee and helping with this day. And to our veterans who are members of this body, I want to recognize and thank them as well, as I often do on this floor. Senator Sanders, Senator Ort, Senator Ashby, Senator Walczyk, and Senator Steck. I want to say thank you. Thank you all for your service, for your sacrifice. You are heroes among us. Simply putting that uniform on makes you a hero to our country. Those that have served and sacrificed so much in wars that have established this country will tell you the real heroes were those that paid the ultimate sacrifice. And they're right. But in my eyes, in the eyes of many of our country, men and women,
you're all heroes because you allow us to live in this country, the greatest country in the history of the world. You and your sacrifice, that just putting that military uniform on allows us to deliberate in peace, allows us in this chamber to debate policy, ideology, philosophy, but to do so in a democratic way. It is only because of you and your sacrifice that we're allowed to do this. And so I thank you as the grandson of a World War II veteran, as the son of an Army veteran, as the husband of a daughter of the American Revolution. I am truly honored to be here simply in your presence and look forward to the continued celebration of each and every one of you that have allowed us to live in this extraordinary country, the United States of America. Thank you.
To our guests visiting us from West Point, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please stand and be recognized.
The resolution was previously adopted on April 10th. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, I know our cadets and the West Point leadership need to make their way over to the Assembly Chamber where they're awaiting the honor that's going to be bestowed upon them in that chamber. So we will let them take their leave of us and remind everyone that we are having a reception in their honor as well as for our Korean War veterans at 1 p.m., maybe a little bit later than that when they're done with the Assembly in room 332.
There will be a reception in honor of our guests from the Korean War veterans and is also our guests from West Point Day in the Majority Conference Room 332 at or around 1 p.m. The resolution is open for co-sponsorship. Senator Gianaris.
Can we now take up previously adopted Resolution 750 by Senator Scarcella Spanton, read its title and recognize Majority Leader Stuart Cousins.
Secretary Reed.
Senate Resolution 750 by Senator Scarcella Spanton, celebrating the courage and bravery of New York State's Korean War veterans and recognizing the men and women who serve with dignity and honor during this historic time period at the Senate's inaugural Korean War Veteran Celebration on April 26, 2023.
Majority Leader Stuart Cousins on the resolution.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And again, we are just so honored to have this wonderful celebration of service embodied by not only our cadets, but our Korean War veterans. When I think about this day and why we got here, it's quite amazing that the two happened at the same time. Again, as I said, this was born of an idea from the veterans in Westchester County, Senator Mayer, who brought veterans to me who said, what about the Korean War veterans? She had heard from her Korean War veterans. And the idea that there'd never been a celebration was really surprising to me. And so I promised then and there that we would celebrate Korean War veterans for the first time in this chamber. And Senator Scarcella Spanton, who is the chair of the committee, put it together. And we sent out the invitation far and wide because there are at least 25,000 Korean War veterans right here in New York State. Suddenly, we had a date, and we later found, due to circumstances with West Point, that they had to come on this day. And as you've heard, it has been a celebration that we've had here for over 70 years. And so I said, how do we do this? Will the Korean War veterans feel upset because it's not, quote unquote, their day? Would the cadets feel upset because this has always been a celebration they've had here? But because at the heart of all of what you represent is service, I bet that this would not be a problem at all. I bet that West Point would be happy to honor the service of our Korean War veterans, and I knew that our Korean War veterans would be happy to celebrate the next generation of leadership. I also know that our Korean War veterans are patient. World War I was the war that ends all wars, what was to end all wars. We know that didn't happen because there was World War II and Vietnam, and we name ad infinitum. But right after World War II was the Korean War. But as Randy Jorgensen from our district, again, one of the leaders in this, said when he addressed the Korean War veterans down in the well, it was never even called a war. It was a police action, it was a conflict, but never really a war. And while, again, I always say, with World War II, and when my dad, who served in the Army, was in a segregated army and came back, and he didn't really experience the benefits of the GI Bill because black soldiers couldn't get those benefits. And my brother was in Vietnam, and we all know that Vietnam veterans, unfortunately writ large, were largely just really abased when they came back because the war was unpopular. But here you are, not even recognized as a war, but yet, at the bidding of a nation who you so dearly loved, you showed up and you fought for the ideals of America to fight back the forces of communism in Korea. We sent you there. There was an armistice. You came back, and you felt largely forgotten. And so we say to you, this is the first day of being honored here for your service, for the sacrifice of your families, on behalf of all of us. And know that this chamber, and I'm sure the other chamber as well, will honor Korean War veterans as we do every other veterans group with your own day from this year forward. The other thing that Randy said was that the thing that he remembered most about Korea was it was just so cold. I hope that the warmth of this chamber will replace the memories of the coldness, because what we have here for you is nothing but love and gratitude for your service now and forever. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for sharing your lives with us. Thank you for protecting us and giving us examples. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Madam Leader. Senator Scarcella-Spanton on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. And first and foremost, I wanted to thank our amazing Majority Leader for helping me put this event together, along with Senator Mayer. It was such a beautiful day, and it was an honor to welcome our Korean War veterans to the chamber. And I'm so glad to see you all sitting up there today. And I think it's actually a really beautiful tribute that we had our West Point cadets here with our Korean War veterans. It's seeing the future, and they have amazing lessons that they can learn from you every single day. This year marks the 70th anniversary of the Korean Armistice Agreement that ended the fight in Korea. I want to extend my deepest gratitude to the Korean War veterans who are here today. Thank you for your service and sacrifice during the Korean War. Your bravery and dedication to our nation will never be forgotten. Every single person here, and so many of those who could not be here or are no longer with us, are heroes who put their lives on the line to defend our freedoms and protect our nation. And we owe you a debt of gratitude that can never be fully repaid. Our Korean War veterans fought valiantly in one of the most intense and brutal wars in our country's history, and they deserve our utmost respect and admiration. As we honor our Korean War veterans today, let us never forget the sacrifices made and the challenges they faced, and let that memory guide the work that we do to fight for them like they fought for us. And I just wanted to say that as the wife of someone who served 2 tours in Afghanistan, seeing the respect that we have as a country for our veterans today is a tribute to veterans like the Korean War veterans, our Vietnam veterans who didn't receive that same treatment that our veterans do here and now. So we appreciate you, we thank you, and this is a small token of appreciation for all that you've done, and I'm proud to vote aye, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Ort on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I'd like to thank Senator Stewart-Cousins as well as the sponsor for carrying this resolution. Something Senator Stewart-Cousins said that I think is very true is that the Korean War has been viewed as a forgotten war, sandwiched between World War II, where we literally, the stake and the fate of the world hung in the balance, and Vietnam, a war that divided this country in ways that up to that time had not been seen, and that took the lives of 58,000 Americans. This war, whether it was a conflict officially or an international police action, it was a war that took the lives of nearly 37,000 Americans. And it's interesting because World War II was a total victory for the Allies. Today we look at Europe and there are not too many remnants, if any, politically or otherwise, of that conflict. In Vietnam, there are no U.S. troops there, and Vietnam today is a peaceful country. And yet, Korea is still divided. And North Korea is one of the most repressive regimes in the entire world. And there are still U.S. troops stationed in Korea, very much in harm's way at the demilitarized zone today. And we still worry about North Korean actions today. So it shouldn't be forgotten. But more importantly, the sacrifice of our veterans who fought there should not be forgotten. I had the privilege to take several groups of veterans to Washington, D.C. on a Heroes flight, very similar to the honor flights that go on. And we would take World War II veterans to see the World War II monument that had been built in their honor, but many, many years after many of them were able to see it. And I'm sure many people in this chamber have been able, hopefully, to be a part of that, because it's an unbelievable experience to go down there and see these memorials with people who served in those conflicts. And so the World War II monument sort of was the impetus for a lot of these flights. And we also brought some Vietnam veterans down they would often go as chaperones. And we would go to the wall, and they would lay a wreath, and it was a very moving moment. But we would also go to the Korean War Memorial, because we always had some Korean War veterans. And it was a haunting memorial. The Korean War Memorial does not get as much attention as some of the other monuments down there, but it's a very haunting memorial, those statues of our soldiers on patrol. And as the years went on, there were less and less World War II veterans, as we would all appreciate and understand, and increasingly, the veterans were Korean War veterans. And so they are that elder statesman, the elder class of veterans today in America, increasingly, is our Korean War veterans. And we should endeavor to make sure that they are not forgotten, that their service and their sacrifice is not forgotten, but also that the reason they fought and the legacy of that conflict certainly shouldn't be forgotten, lest we find American servicemen and women back in Korea sometime in the future, which would be a real shame. So, to be forgotten is something that no veteran should ever have to worry about, and I applaud all of my members and colleagues in this chamber today for bringing this resolution to the floor and for ensuring that our Korean War veterans here in New York State know that you indeed are not forgotten, and in fact, quite the opposite, that you're very much appreciated for the sacrifice and service to America. So, Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Horton. Senator Harkin on the resolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First, I want to thank our Majority Leader and Senator Scarcella-Stanton, Senator Mayer, for putting this day together for this event. I'd like to acknowledge a few veterans from my district who are here today and then share a personal observation. I'd like to welcome Donald King, Lou Caldera, Dimitri Swick, Alan Furtick, and Al Colbrand, all Korean War veterans. I also want to thank James Mecca from Yorktown, who's a Vietnam veteran, but also belongs to a group down in Yonkers who is instrumental in working with Senator Mayer and Senator Stewart Cousins. I want to thank you. We want to welcome you. And as others have said, we honor you for your service and we thank you. And your service is not forgotten on any of us. And the personal observation I wanted to share is that, sometimes at the end of a conflict, as Senator Ort mentioned, what have we accomplished? What have you done? And my connection to this, other than, my father I've spoken about on this floor, was a combat veteran of World War II, and then, like many of that generation, was called back to the Korean War and trained soldiers. For all I know, he may have trained one of you. There's that connection by generation. But what I want to mention is that my partner in life, Jin Hee, is Korean, and she was born shortly after the Korean War. And Korea was destitute, there was famine, and it was the United States military that fed them and clothed them and helped stabilize that country and build it back. And today, South Korea is a vibrant democracy. It's our strongest ally in that part of the world. It's an incredible economy and a robust political system. And that's what you accomplished. It wasn't just, you were not just pawns in this larger Cold War. You helped save and stabilize and build a country for people who greatly appreciate it. And so today, the way we complain and bicker about politics in the United States, she is always ranting and raving to me about politics in Korea, and that is a luxury problem. That's because they have a vibrant democracy that all of you saved. And for that, you should be very proud, and we are very grateful. Thank you. I vote aye.
Thank you, Senator Harkins. Senator Helming on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of this resolution recognizing the service and sacrifice of our Korean War veterans. I'd like to thank Senator Stuart Cousin, Senator Scarcella Stanton, and Senator Mayer for organizing this opportunity. As you heard Senator Ort say, the Korean War was sandwiched between World War II and the Vietnam War. I've heard so many people frequently refer to it as the forgotten war. And those who have served referred to as a silent generation of the forgotten war. There are a number of reasons for this. For many of our veterans, the memories are just too painful. They've been locked away and not shared. And for other veterans, there really wasn't a reason to talk about the war. As you've already heard, the general public just wasn't interested. Some didn't even acknowledge it as a war. But today, I'm proud to support this chamber's efforts to right this wrong, to correct the inaction, to thank the 37,000 killed in action, the more than 8,000 still missing in action, and all those who returned home for their courage, their service, and their sacrifice. My father was a Korean War veteran. He left high school, he quit when he was 17 years old. Somehow he convinced my grandmother to sign the paperwork, and he joined the Air Force. He was sent from his home and his family in Youngstown, Ohio, to Sansom Air Force Base, which, for those of you who don't know, is located in Seneca County, which up until January was a part of my Senate district. Now, my father never talked about his military experience, never. You know how I found out about it? One day before he passed, this is going just before I became senator, we were driving by Sansom, we were on a wine tour, and my father said to all of us in the car, my mother, my husband, and myself, he said, I was stationed there. Even my mother said, what are you talking about? And he explained to us that that is where he did his basic training. I asked him, Dad, do you want to go in? Do you want to check it out? And his response was something similar to what Senator Stuart Cousin said earlier. My father said, no, it's the coldest place on earth. And that was about it. That was all I ever really knew. One of the things that I'm really proud of, something that this chamber and everybody in here played a part in, is that Sansom is one of the most significant military sites in our state. During World War II, it was a naval training station, and later it was rededicated as a Korean War Air Force basic training station. And through actions of this body in the state of New York, Sansom is now the first New York State Veterans Cemetery. So I'm very proud of this body making that a possibility. But even more so today, why I rise is I'm very proud of the service, the sacrifice, and the courage of all our Korean veterans, and I want to thank you all. God bless all of you.
Thank you, Senator Helming. Senator Ashby on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Chairwoman Scarcella Stanton, Senator Stuart Cousins, our leader, Leader Ort, and all of the veterans in this body and the Korean War veterans who are here today. I'm especially proud to be joined by Chuck Giotti and Chaplain Paul O'Keefe, who continue to give back. And I think it's something that we continue to hear when we talk about veterans, is that their sacrifice inspires their families, inspires those who didn't serve, inspires those who decide to serve. And they continue to give back in ways that are immeasurable. And it was a great morning for those of you who were there this morning in the well to be able to visit with our Korean War veterans, because you got to hear some very interesting stories. And I know we always talk about, you hear about the cold, how cold it was in Korea, but you got to hear stories of Marines and soldiers who were actually in the punch bowl, who were on Pork Chop Hill. And these experiences, I think, are so befitting for today, to be shared with the cadets at West Point, and I truly hope that they have the opportunity to hear them. Although it is an unbelievable educational institution, I think that there's some lessons to be learned by those who served in Korea and were at those places. And I think it's important for us in this body to hear them as well. Because although we put forward legislation and we celebrate and commemorate service, it is my aim, and I know it is the aim of many in this body, to make sure that is evidence in our policy and in our laws. And last year, we did an amazing thing. We elevated the Division of Veteran Services to a state agency, which will give us the opportunity to better serve our veterans and our families. And I think it's important for us to remember our Korean War veterans here today and make sure they're not forgotten, and make sure that the opportunity we have to put meat on the bones of this agency for our veterans and for their families. Let their service be an inspiration to us to continue to legislate for them and for our future veterans, for the cadets that were here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Ashby. Senator Sepulveda on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me to speak on this resolution. I want to thank my leader and the minority leader for their kind words, Senator Spanton and Senator Mayer for doing the resolution and organizing today's event. My family has a long history of individuals who served in the military. I have an uncle, a great uncle, who lied on his birth certificate and served in World War I, and lied again on his birth certificate and served in World War II. I have two uncles that were veterans of Vietnam. My communications director, Ruskin Pimentel, is a veteran of Iraq and currently active duty in the National Guard. The Korean War, the veterans, and the treatment they received when they initially came back, I think is a sad day in the history of this country. And it's now until currently where they're receiving their just due and recognition for the difficult situations that they encountered in tough terrain in a cold place. But I wanted to tell a story that I told Senator Spanton about how special the Korean War veterans are to those of us of Puerto Rican descent. In the Korean War, there was a regiment called the Borinqueneers that were part of the 65th Infantry. This infantry is revered in the island of Puerto Rico for their bravery, but like many soldiers of color, they didn't receive their just due. They suffered the indignities of discrimination. And it wasn't until 2014 when President Obama issued a Medal of Honor on behalf of the 65th Infantry that they received the recognition that they should have received decades ago. So I encourage all of the veterans from the Korean War to come to Puerto Rico, and you get a special welcome because we love them. You know, we had 61,000 Puerto Ricans from the island who served in the Korean War. And there were about 3,500 casualties and over 800 deaths. So the soldiers of my ancestors, the people that I came from, served this country proudly. The soldiers of Puerto Rico served in the Korean War with valor. And to me, it's an honor to be able to speak today on this resolution, recognizing the efforts of the Borinqueneers, 65th Infantry, and all of the Korean War veterans that are here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sepulveda. Senator Hinchey on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll start with West Point Day is always a little conflicting for me because I had a grandfather who was in the Army and my father was in the Navy. But growing up, you know, now that they've left, I'll add here for equal balance, go Navy. But I rise today to honor our Korean War veterans, specifically two veterans from my district, Jimmy Short and Charlie Boughton, two local heroes that are instrumental and incredible community members in the heart of Kingston. What we've heard today is so many of our colleagues come from families of service.
whether it's a parent or a brother or a sister or a grandfather. Many of us in this room have family members who have served in the military. And I know for me that service is what has partially and deeply inspired me to run and help serve my state, my country in this way. My father enlisted in the Navy just after the Korean War. And I know that one of the things that drove him to enlist just out of high school was the stories and the love for those who came back to Saugerties, came back to Ulster County after serving, those who didn't get the recognition that they deserved. And I'm incredibly honored and quite frankly humbled to be a part of the first celebration of our Korean War veterans here in this chamber and in the state. One thing I want to highlight from our celebration this morning and conversations I was having with other Korean War veterans in the room was when I asked them how we could help. What is something that we can do here in New York? How can we help you now? Out of everything that they could have said, they asked for help in actually giving back to children with cancer in their communities. They wanted to be able to go and teach children, make them honorary members for the day. Their thought was not about what we can do for them, what they need, what their families need. Their thought was about how they can continue to give back to their community, because that's what drives our veterans. It's how we help the community that they're in, because that's what they do. They help our country, and that's what drove them to enlist in the first place. Talking with Jimmy Short and Charlie Boughton today is nothing short of inspirational. And I hope that all of the Korean War veterans here today and those in our communities no longer feel forgotten, because we have the responsibility to ensure that your service, your sacrifice, the sacrifice of your families is remembered and honored. And so thank you for being here today. Thank you for your service. And with that, Mr. President, I vote aye.
Thank you, Senator Hinchey. Senator Clear on the resolution.
Good afternoon. I rise today to thank the sponsors of this resolution. Majority Leader, thank you. Thank you, Senator Stanton. Thank you, Senator Mayer. I come from a family with many people in the military. I wouldn't dare start naming anybody because I may forget someone, and I don't want to do that today. I'll lift up my nephew who's currently in the Army, Michael Floyd. But I really just wanted to just say thank you for the previous resolution and this one. It is because of what you've done, because of what they are doing, that we can be here today doing what we're doing peacefully. And my mind and my thoughts went to, for the Korean War veterans. I benefited from your service in Korea through my former Congressman, Charles B. Rangel, who served in Korea and also came and served in my district as my congressman, serving 23 terms. And I look at the leadership that he brought to that community, and he often spoke about his service in the military, and I know that we can attribute a lot of that great service to his time spent in the military. So today I just say thank you for your service, for what you have done, and for being there. I say thank you to all of you today.
Thank you, Senator Clear. Senator Mayer on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to our sponsor, the chairwoman, Senator Scarcella Spanton. She's had a very powerful day, and a special thanks to my friend, the Majority Leader, who took an idea that did not come from here. It came from there. It came from my Veterans Advisory Committee, and there are a number of you here, and a special tribute to the Vietnam vets in my committee and elsewhere, particularly Colonel Chet Edwards and many of others who know what it's like to be forgotten and said we must do better. And I was able to bring together a group of Korean War veterans and others to meet with the Majority Leader, who immediately said, yes, we will do this. We will have recognition here. We owe this. This is overdue. And we will start the process of making up for what we as a collective state have not done well enough, which is to honor your service, to recognize your heroism, to hear your stories, and to acknowledge each of you as individuals who gave of yourselves and made enormous sacrifice. I want to remind us, President Obama, when he was speaking on one of the anniversaries of the end of the Korean War, said, "Veterans of the Korean War, in the spring of your youth, you learned how short and precious life can be. And because of you, millions of people can keep on living in it, in freedom and in peace. Your lives are an inspiration. Your service will never be forgotten. You have the thanks of a grateful nation, and your shining deeds will live now and forever." And I think for us here in this chamber, state senators that represent the complete diversity of this beautiful state, we are sending to you, as the leader said, our love, our appreciation, our acknowledgement, and our commitment that this will not be a one-day event. This will not be a one and done, as we say up here. This will be an annual commitment to recognize our our Korean War veterans, as well as our Vietnam veterans, who we do acknowledge, and make sure that an annual event occurs where you have the opportunity to come and be part of this. Lastly, just let me say that for me, for the years that I was not a senator, this place was very hallowed to me. To come into this beautiful chamber, to see democracy, peaceful disagreement, strong disagreement, efforts to make people change their mind and to vote on laws. This was the essence of our democracy that you fought for. So I am privileged with my colleagues on both sides to sit in this chamber and to represent people and do our best to enact policies. And one of them must be to honor and to make sure that we provide all that is necessary for all of our veterans, and we may not forget our Korean War veterans. I vote aye. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator Mayer. Senator Rollison on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to Majority Leader Stewart Cousins, Senator Stewart Cousins, for bringing this forward, Senator Scarcella-Spanton, also Senator Mayer. This is giving me the opportunity today to talk about something that, unfortunately, when my dad was alive, I didn't talk about it. My father was a Korean War veteran. His very best friend, Bill Sherry, who later became my godfather, was a Korean War veteran. They were roommates at Providence College. They both served. They both moved to Poughkeepsie. They bought houses next to one another, which started a lifelong relationship with the Sherry family and the Rollison family. But during that time, and I was with my Uncle Bill and my dad, obviously, lots of times, never talked about the Korean War, never asked any questions about the Korean War. I remember as a kid going into my parents' room and seeing various memorabilia from my dad's Army uniform. And I would put it on, and I thought that was the greatest thing in the world at that time. But again, I never spoke to my dad about it. I never heard my dad talk to my Uncle Bill about it. So I really don't know. And my dad started his service in the Army. And then, as I think probably most of you know, he spent 24 years in this chamber. And I know, and I didn't ask him, that where he started his service in the Army helped him get here to the New York State Senate. And now that we are doing this for the very first time, if my dad was here, he would say thank you. Of course he would. And for me to have all of you here, because I never had the opportunity, or quite frankly, thought about it until he was gone, to thank him. So giving me the opportunity to thank you gives me the opportunity to remember my dad and my Uncle Bill, who served. I proudly vote aye on this resolution.
Thank you, Senator Ellison. Senator Kennedy on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to take this opportunity again to recognize specifically the extraordinary service of the Korean War veterans that are here with us today. Again, I want to thank our great leader, Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, Senator Scarcella Spanton, and Senator Mayer for making this day a reality. To think it's been 70 years is amazing in and of itself. I, of course, was not born, as many of us here were not at the time, but I'm reminded how quickly time moves, and I'm sure many of you feel that here today. I'm reminded how fast this visit that we have in this world goes by. And I say that because as I'm thinking about honoring our heroes that served in the Korean War, I'm reminded of a dear friend of mine that passed away 5 years ago. I feel like it was yesterday, and that was Tom Higgins, who was a Korean War veteran. Then he became a law enforcement leader with the Buffalo Police and a 3-term sheriff of Erie County. Up until the day that he died, 5 years ago now, this upcoming June, he led the charge in Western New York and arguably statewide on educating the next generation about the plight of the Korean War veterans and the service and sacrifice that each and every one of you made and your families made during that very difficult time in our nation's history. So I had the honor, actually in his waning days, to name him to the Veterans Hall of Fame here in the New York State Senate. And so as time moves on and we remember those that came before us, I thought it right to stand once again and honor my dear friend, Tom Higgins, a Korean War veteran, and his service to this nation, to each and every one of you for your service to the nation, not just in your service as veterans, but as the Majority Leader said earlier on, when you returned. You've lived a life of service to our state and our nation, and we are eternally grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Senator Webb on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank my Senate colleagues for supporting this resolution proclaiming April 26, 2023 as Korean War Veteran Celebration here in the state of New York. I would also like to thank our veterans and their families that have joined us today here in the Capitol. You know, during my short but feels like a long time here in the Senate, it's been an honor to recognize the contributions of many constituents to our democracy, and our veterans are most certainly not an exception. And so in this chamber today, we honor the brave men and women who served with courage, dignity during the Korean War, and I want to recognize the selfless sacrifice of the Korean War veterans from my home district, Broome, Cortland, and Tompkins counties, who were among the 428,000 New Yorkers who served our nation in this forgotten war. Your service, your sacrifices, and sense of duty to our country will never be forgotten, and most certainly are deeply appreciated. I would like to thank our Majority Leader, Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins, our esteemed Veterans Chair, Senator Scarcella Spanton, and also Senator Mayer for your efforts in making today our inaugural Korean War Veteran resolution possible. And as I often like to remark, especially on issues such as this, that may we in this chamber continue and in our communities continue to advance policies and practices that center justice, peace, and equity for all. I proudly vote aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Webb. Senator Matera on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, to the sponsor, to Senator Leader Stewart-Cousins, Leader Ort, to all our veterans, You know what? I just want to say God bless our military and our veterans for protecting us from harm's way every day. I want to say a special thanks to somebody that's special and dear to my heart, is my Uncle Louie. Being Italian, you have an Uncle Louie. And to Lou Maters, you know, he is right now in the Stony Brook Vets Home. And, you know, to be a senator and you go to all of our Veterans Day and our Memorial Day, you know, it's just something special to me when I do go to the Vets Home, to the VA hospital at Northport, and to see our veterans, you know, to go and bring the cards from the children from my school districts, which I just attended for Valentine's Day, and you brought those cards to the veterans to make sure that our children understand what it means for our cadets that are here today and for our veterans, for our Korean vets. And my uncle was, he still is, always a Korean War veteran. And you know, one thing they used to try to do is talk to him and try to get certain messages, you know, tell me what happened, this and that. And very rarely did he want to speak about it. Just like Lita Ort, which I'm so proud of him. You know, you try to like talk to him a little bit and really he does not want to talk about his days. But you know what, there's a man, and our veterans that are here today, there's a man that when the towers went down, Lita Ort went right away and he signed up. I don't know if anybody knows that, but it means a lot to me. And I do try to talk to him, but he really, really doesn't really want to talk about it. But you know what? To be here today and to be in this chamber, to be a senator, I just care about our veterans so, so much for what they have done. And I am just grateful to be here today with people that care about our country. And you know what? God bless all our cadets that were here today. God bless everybody in this chamber. And especially, God bless the United States of America. Thank you, Mr. President, and I, of course, vote yes.
Thank you, Senator Matera. The resolution was previously adopted on April 18th. Senator Gianaris.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think it's appropriate to give one more resounding round of applause for our Korean War veterans. And Mr. President, let me remind our friends in the gallery that they are, of course, welcome to join us at the luncheon in their honor in room 332.
Please join us in the luncheon in your honor in room 332 at the commencement of session.
Can we now jointly take up previously adopted resolutions 707 and 708 by Senator Weber, read their titles, and recognize Senator Weber.
Secretary Reed.
Senate Resolution 707 by Senator Weber, congratulating Carly Sardo upon the occasion of capturing the 2023 New York State Public High School Athletic Association Girls Gymnastics Floor Exercise Championship on March 4, 2023. Senate Resolution 708 by Senator Weber, congratulating the Tappan Zee High School Boys Varsity Basketball Team upon the occasion of capturing the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Basketball Class A Championship on March 18, 2023.
Senator Weber on the resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to welcome Carly Sardo and to present her with a joint resolution along with my Assembly colleague, John McGowan, and congratulate her on winning the 2023 New York State Public School Girls Gymnastics Floor Exercise Championship. Sports competition instills the values of teamwork, pride, and accomplishment, and Carly has clearly contributed to the spirit of excellence and a tradition of her school. A standout gymnast for Tappan Zee High School, not only did Ms. Sardo defend her 2022 state title, she finished fourth in the all-around, fourth in the balance beam, and fifth on the vault. Carly Sardo's overall record is outstanding. Her family, teammates, friends, and the entire community enthusiastically supported and encouraged her throughout the season. I also want to congratulate Carly's coach, Audrey Donahue, a skilled and inspirational leader, respected for her ability to develop potential into excellence. It is my honor to present Carly Sardo with this resolution recognizing her outstanding athletic and academic achievements. I'm also here to rise to welcome the Tappan Zee High School boys basketball team and to present again a joint resolution along with my Assembly colleague John McGowan honoring them for winning the New York State Public School Basketball A Championship last month. Please welcome Sean Berrigan, Tommy Lenahan, Jack Maloney, Isaiah Leverhill, TJ Tarpey, Billy Alexandru, Nick Lang, Xavier LaVille, Pat Lenahan, Jack Piccioni, Patrick Staker, Drew Dillon, Nolan Cook, and head coach George Gain. Tappan Zee advanced to the finals after a 58-48 win against New Hartford. They proceeded to the final round with a focused and determined attitude and played an amazing game and in an extremely great defense. The Dutchmen defeated Irondequoit High School in a decisive 49-36 victory on Saturday, March 18, 2023. The leading scorers were Sean Berrigan with 20 points and 6 rebounds, Jack Maloney with 18 points and 5 rebounds, and Tommy Lenahan with 11 points. They ended their season with an impressive 26-2 overall record. You know, basketball demands athletic prowess, speed, and agility. Head coach George Gain and his expert coaching staff worked hard to hone the skills of this championship team, teaching these outstanding athletes lessons that will prove invaluable both on and off the court. Congratulations to Tappan Zee High School, George Gain, and the outstanding athletes of Tappan Zee High School basketball team for their dedication, determination, and hard work. It is my honor to present the resolution that was voted on by the Senate. Mr. President, please recognize both Carly and the Tappan Zee High School boys basketball team, Tappan Zee coach George Gain, and extend them all the courtesies and privileges of this esteemed House. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Weber. To our championship athlete guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. Excuse me. Senator Breslin on the resolution. Senator Breslin not on the resolution. To our championship athlete guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you all the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. Senator Gianaris.
Can we now move to previously adopted Resolution 785 by Senator Mayer? Read its title and recognize Senator Mayer.
Senator Gianaris, I forgot to say that those resolutions were previously adopted on April 10th. Secretary Reed.
Senate Resolution 785 by Senator Mayer, congratulating the State of Israel upon the occasion of the 75th anniversary of its independence and reaffirming the bonds of friendship and cooperation between the State of New York and Israel.
Senator Mayer on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to all my colleagues for what has been a busy day, and a special thank you to my friends from the American Jewish Committee who have been very patient and hopefully understand how important the diversity of the things we do here is to the great American democracy that we celebrate. Today, I rise in support of this resolution congratulating the State of Israel on the 75th anniversary of its independence and reaffirming the bonds of friendship and cooperation between the State of New York and Israel. With more than 2 million Jews in New York State, the most of any state in the nation, New York State has long played a leadership role in supporting the State of Israel. Over the course of Israel's 75-year history, it has struggled against external threats that threaten its existence and internal dissension that recently brought thousands to the streets to support democracy. Through all of this, the people of Israel are immensely proud of their nation's achievements and democratic traditions. And throughout many periods of turmoil, New York has maintained an exceedingly strong bond with Israel, and we reaffirm that here today. We are Israel's loyal friend. We continue to value the commitment of the Israeli people to work for democratic norms and for a path to coexistence and peace in the region and throughout the world. On this 75th anniversary of the founding of the State of Israel, we honor the values laid out in Israel's founding Declaration of Independence of Jewish nationhood, democracy, freedom, justice, equality, and the pursuit of peace. I congratulate Israel on this anniversary and recommit ourselves to working with Israel to achieve those goals. I'm so pleased to be joined here today by the leadership and members of the American Jewish Committee, one of the preeminent Jewish organizations in the United States. They are here in Albany to call us to action against anti-Semitism and to urge New York State to take every action it can to combat the scourge of anti-Semitism that continues to plague our nation. I salute them. I know with my colleagues we are committed to working together to do everything in our power to address the rise of anti-Semitism. The colleagues that are joined us from the American Jewish Committee represent the American Jewish Committee New York Board, the Westchester Board, the Long Island Board, and the central staff of the American Jewish Committee. Please recognize them, acknowledge their work, not only their contribution, their work and commitment to ending anti-Semitism as we celebrate Israel's Independence Day. Thank you, Mr. President. I vote aye.
Thank you, Senator Mayer. Senator Kruger on the resolution.
Thank you very much. I know it's been a long day on the floor and we haven't even gotten to the bills yet, but I also wanted to stand up and say welcome to the American Jewish Committee. Previous to being a senator, I was a member of the New York City board of the AJC, so hello to everyone. And of course, in honor of the 75th birthday of Israel, I often talk about that my family and history is completely interconnected with the entire history of Israel, although I'm not as old as the country. Not that much younger, it turns out. Spending much of my life going back and forth to Israel with a father who, I would explain, didn't live in Israel, but basically did live in Israel and spent most of his time there for 40 years. And we gave up counting his trips when we hit 450. We said, okay, it's enough. And I'm very glad to hear the resolution brought by my colleague Shelley Mayer, because it emphasizes what I think all American Jews are feeling at this time. In a time of growing anti-Semitism, we also recognize, perhaps more than most, the importance of democracy and the fragility of democracy. And that is true here, and it is true in Israel, as so many of my friends in Israel who I have known my entire life also take to the streets in protests because they are fighting for their democracy, as in fact, we think we are fighting for ours here most days at this time. So thank you, Shelley, Senator Mayer, for bringing this resolution and reminding us of how critically important the future of democracy is to us all as Americans, to us all throughout the world as Jews. And thank you for your work of the American Jewish Committee. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Kruger. Senator Kennedy on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, want to rise and honor the American Jewish Committee for your presence here today, for your leadership. I want to recognize my tremendous colleague and leader, Senator Shelley Mayer, for bringing this resolution to the floor. I want to recognize 75 years of the State of Israel and the work that we need to continue to do to recognize our brothers and sisters of the Jewish faith. You know, we have seen so much hatred and anti-Semitism and such vile, disgraceful actions of a few. But those actions infect the many. And we have to stomp out that hate every opportunity that we see it. Today, we hosted earlier the American Jewish Committee, a conference on anti-Semitism and the increase in hate crimes, and quite frankly, the fact that we as a community, we as this generation, as we look back on 75 years, have an obligation to spread peace, to spread an understanding, and to spread inclusiveness every single day that we have an opportunity to do so. So I too want to welcome you and honor you once again. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your leadership. We look forward to our continued work together. Thank you, Mr. President. I vote aye.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Senator Hoylman-Siegel on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to thank Senator Mayer for this important resolution on the State of Israel's 75th anniversary and welcome the American Jewish Committee to the State Senate. And wanted to thank you for your presentation this morning on the rise of anti-Semitism, which is most obvious online as we scroll through our Twitter feed or Instagram or Facebook. And it's no wonder that the Anti-Defamation League's 2022 online hate and harassment survey shows that up to 40% of users have experienced online harassment, nearly 2/3 of which is hate-based harassment, meaning these users are being targeted because of an aspect of their identity. The ADL has said that platforms are not responding to anti-Semitic content, and big tech companies are to blame. I want you to know that I'm advancing legislation that would require technology companies and social media platforms to actually disclose what they're doing to combat online hatred. California has passed legislation that Governor Newsom signed into law last year. I hope New York can do the same. It's too important to do otherwise, Mr. President, and I really thank, again, Senator Mayer for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Holman-Seeking. Senator Martins on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, rise to first thank our colleague, Senator Mayer, for bringing this resolution to the floor, but also to thank the AJC for all the work that they do. It seems incredible that in 2023, 4 in 10 Jews feel threatened. 8 in 10 feel more threatened today than they did just a year ago. If that doesn't speak volumes to the challenges that we have before us, not only as a state and certainly as a body, in policy decisions that we have before us. We have, Mr. President, an obligation to fight hate wherever we see it, in all forms. We see it today manifesting itself in different places, places that should be safe places, places of higher learning. We have seen efforts for BDS on our campuses, most pronounced at our CUNY campuses. Organizations and clubs that are funded with taxpayer monies that promote hate and anti-Jewish sentiment. So as we put together our budget, as we go forward and list our priorities, Mr. President, it is our responsibility here in Albany, in this chamber, to make sure that we prioritize making sure that everyone is safe, everyone feels safe, and regardless of religion, regardless of background, ethnic background, or race, that there is no place for hatred anywhere in this state. And so I applaud the AJC. I ask them to continue with their efforts to partner with policymakers in prioritizing that, not just for Jews, but for everyone in New York State. Mr. President, I proudly vote aye.
Thank you, Senator Martins. Senator Gennardis on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, rise to thank Senator Mayer for this resolution, and I echo the comments and sentiments of all my colleagues who have spoken about the rise in anti-Semitism and the importance of us confronting that wherever it rears its ugly head. I want to thank the members of the AJC for being here today and for all of their work, and to pay special tribute to their work, not just here in New York State, but across the country. And, you know, as many people here know, my family, my origins are Greek, and the Greek community and the Israeli community, the Jewish community, have a special bond with each other. And at the national level, the AJC has formed a very special partnership with the Hellenic American Leadership Council, of which I'm a founding member, to help advance issues of mutual concern for both of our communities, both home and abroad. And it's because of that partnership that we now have the Congressional Hellenic-Israeli Alliance in Congress. It's a bipartisan caucus to promote issues of concern and commonality between people of the Greek diaspora and people of the Israeli and Jewish diaspora. And I'll just share one story. You know, during the Holocaust, the country that lost the greatest percentage of its Jewish community of any European country was Greece. And there was a story on the island of Zakynthos when the Nazi commander came to the mayor of the island and said, "Give us a list of all the Jews you have living here." And the following day, the mayor produced a list of 2 names, himself and the archbishop, or the bishop of the island. And they hid the entire Jewish community and kept them safe throughout the Holocaust. Fast forward years later, the Jews who were living there moved to the new state of Israel, and there was a terrible earthquake on the island of Zakynthos. And the first aid package from anywhere in the world that arrived to help those residents of that island were from the people who had resettled in Israel, but who had previously lived on the island of Zakynthos and had been protected by the mayor and the bishop during the atrocities of World War II. So the commonalities and ties between our people are many and are deep, and I thank you all for your work in continuing to advance that relationship and everything you do for the people of our state. And I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gennardis. Senator Stavisky on the resolution.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, and welcome. Shalom. It's the 75th anniversary of the founding of the State of Israel. It was a cause for celebration. I read about this in 1948, and I understand that the United States was the first country to recognize the State of Israel when Harry Truman, I believe, placed a phone call or whatever it was. And that's been a tradition that has continued to this day. Unfortunately, and I thank AJC for coming to Albany to present the various problems that we are facing. Several weeks ago, I attended a briefing at Common Point in Little Neck in Queens, where they spoke about the anti-Semitism online. And it was a fascinating morning. It was about maybe 2 months ago. And that is a problem even today, especially on our college campuses. And I'm proud to say that the Assembly today passed the legislation I sponsored. Senator Daniel Rosenthal and I, we had a rally at Queens College about a year ago, maybe less, to demonstrate that hatred has no place anywhere, particularly on college campuses. And this legislation, it passed the Senate earlier this year. This legislation would require the colleges to report instances of hate. Currently, they do not. It passed both houses. It will go to the governor, and hopefully we will do our share in reducing the anti-Semitism, the painting of swastikas, but it's also anti-AAPI, anti-Latino, anti-Black. Hatred has no place in our country anywhere, anytime, and I thank you for coming, and let us hope that we have a peaceful next 75 years. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Stavisky. Senator Chu on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank my colleague, Senator Mayer, for bringing this to the floor for the resolution. And also, I would like to welcome and recognize the AJC for your great work throughout the state. I had the honor and privilege and opportunity this morning to join their conference, their seminar this morning. And as we know, in the past 3 years, during the pandemic, our Asian AAPI community being targeted for those unacceptable hate crime. And by joining this morning's reception, I learned amazing numbers. Our Jewish American population, it's 2.4%, 2.4% population for our Jewish American families. However, in religious hate crime, they are suffering from 55% for those hate crime numbers. And anti-Semitism is nowhere in this state or this country, no matter you're from what race, what religion, or even your attire or clothing. I really would like to thank for your great leadership, your work, your commitment for our community and our society. And that's why I would like to recognize your great work and your leadership. And for this resolution, I vote aye. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Chu. The resolution was previously adopted. To our guests, we welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you all of the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. This resolution was previously adopted on April 25th. Senator Gianaris.
Can we now take up previously adopted Resolution 810 by Senator Chu? We read that resolution's title and recognize Senator Chu.
Secretary Reed.
Senate Resolution 810 by Senator Chu, memorializing Governor Kathy Hochul to proclaim April 23rd to 29th, 2023 as Library Week in the state of New York.
Senator Chu on the resolution.
Thank you again, Mr. President. It's a great honor to speak again, to support and sponsor this great resolution, and to show the support for our library system, and then to ensure that we recognize and appreciate our hardworking librarians and library workers. April 23rd to 29 marks this year's National Library Week. This is an opportunity to highlight and celebrate the value of libraries, librarians, and the work they do to serve New York communities and individuals of all ages. This year's theme is There's More to the Story, something a lot of us realize that throughout this pandemic. Libraries has always been more than a place for books. They provide internet access, literacy, and educational opportunities. Youth and senior programmings provide a safe environment for learning and growing. It is so important, now more than ever, to ensure that we're investing in our libraries who do so much for the constituents that we represent. Our libraries could not be where they are without the incredible work from the people who run them. Last month, my office accepted nomination from across the state to recognize the work that the librarians do. Librarians and library workers are constantly finding new ways to keep the patrons engaged with not only reading, but also with their community. I'm honored to present this year's Outstanding Librarian Award to 10 exceptional individuals from each of our state regions. These 10 notable librarians have shown to go above and beyond and represent only a small fraction of the tens of thousands of librarians who do amazing work throughout our state. I'm proud to sponsor this resolution and will continue to fight for this resource for our library and our library system. For this, I vote aye. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Chu. Senator Helming on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to Senator Chu for introducing this resolution. I stand today in celebration of National Library Week and to express my gratitude to our public libraries and our school libraries. If you've ever heard me speak about libraries, you've heard me say that I believe libraries are truly the heart and soul of our communities, and the dedicated people who work in them are the heartbeat that keeps them vibrant and strong. One of those individuals is Becky Leathersick, who is recognized in this resolution as one of the outstanding librarians in the state of New York. Becky is a research instruction librarian at SUNY Geneseo, an institution I'm proud to represent. A former school librarian, Becky teaches library research skills to undergraduate and graduate students. One of her colleagues had this to say: Becky is a phenomenal teacher, librarian, and collaborator. She's making a difference at the local, state, and national level, valuing all voices in our community. Mr. President, I think that underscores just how much our libraries and library staff do. They're teachers, mentors, guides, and advocates. As Senator Chu said, the role of our libraries continues to expand just as their importance to our schools and communities continues to grow. This is especially true in our rural communities. We saw during the pandemic how our libraries stepped up to the plate to serve their communities in new ways. They became the hubs for food distribution. Their parking lots became classrooms as students and their parents went there to access the internet for remote learning. They expanded their digital offerings so everyone could stay connected to their library, to their community, and to our world. Today, our libraries are not just castles of books. They're maker spaces where our young people can be creative, where they can use a 3D printer and explore theater and the arts. They're job centers where adults can prepare for new careers. They're technology centers where people can learn new skills. Today at the library, you can borrow passes to local museums and state parks. You can even check out a fishing pole. All of this underscores not only how important our libraries are to people of all ages, but just how essential it is that we, everyone in this chamber, do our part to provide our libraries with the fair funding they deserve. I'm proud to represent more than 30 public libraries and more than 30 school libraries in the 54th District. And I thank each and every one of them for their dedication to expanding knowledge and opportunities for everyone in our community. I'm proud to support this resolution, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Helming. Senator Gennardis on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to thank Senator Chu for this resolution. Libraries are not just places where you get to go check out a book. Libraries in an increasingly digital world are our portal to the world of information that's out there. I'm incredibly proud to represent 7 branches of the Brooklyn Public Library in my district. And in my old district, before redistricting, I represented 10 branches, the most of any senator in Brooklyn. And libraries have had a deep impact on my life and helped shape my love of books and of learning. But I want to rise today to recognize and honor a constituent of mine who is the branch manager of the Sunset Park branch of the Brooklyn Public Library, and that's Roxana Benavides, where she is using a teamwork-focused approach and community-centered approach to help run and manage the Sunset Park Library, which is going through a massive and major renovation and will be a gem in the community once it reopens later next year. Under her leadership, the Sunset Park branch of the Brooklyn Public Library received the 2016 New York City Neighborhood Library Award. Roxana has also received the 2010 America Reads Spanish Librarian of the Year Award, as well as the prestigious 2015 Sloan Public Service Award from the Fund for New York City. In addition to being a member of the American Library Association, she also served as the president of Reforma National, co-chair of the 2008 and 2021 Reforma National Conference, and the co-chair of the 2018 Joint Conference of Librarians of Color. Roxana holds a master's degree in library science from Queens College, as well as a bachelor's in marketing from Baruch College. And often, Mr. President, I think a measure of someone is not the words that you might use to describe yourself, but how others view you. And in the nomination application that was submitted on behalf of Roxana, I just want to share a few words how her colleagues have identified her. They say that Roxana wants you to love reading and wants your kids to love reading even more. She wants to remove every possible barrier there is between your child and a lifelong joy of reading. She loves children and she loves seeing them read. And I think that's because she understands that people who read are people who can change the world. She is always so welcoming and never shames anyone if their books are late. She'll try to help you with whatever you're doing, whether it's getting the printer to work or entertaining your 1-year-old while you check out your books. She's also wonderful at toddler hour, and you can just tell that she cares about the community she lives in, and not just when she's at the library. So, Mr. President, again, I want to thank Senator Chu for this resolution, and I want to congratulate my constituent, the manager of the Sunset Park branch of the Brooklyn Public Library, Roxana Benavides. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gennardis. Senator Palumbo on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I thank Senator Chu for bringing this resolution to the floor. As we know, our libraries, we have outstanding libraries across Long Island and the great state of New York. And fun fact, Mr. President, before being in elected office, I was the vice president of the Cutchogue New Suffolk Library Board. So I have firsthand experience about how important our libraries are to us. And they are certainly an essential educational and community resource. But the success of these institutions is the result of our amazing librarians. And one of our 10 outstanding librarians from the 1st Senate District, Kelly A. Harris, she's of course, one of the 10 outstanding librarians of 2023. She began her career as a page at the Mattituck Laurel Library, which is right next to my hometown of New Suffolk, where I served on that board. She served as the Youth Services Librarian and Assistant Director of the Amagansett Free Library and Executive Director of the Hampton Library. Today, she's currently the Executive Director of the John Germain Memorial Library in Sag Harbor. Ms. Harris is the Treasurer of the New York Library Association and an active member of the Public Library Directors Association of Suffolk County, serving as its president from 2019 to 2020. Ms. Harris also co-chairs its funding committee and serves as co-chair of a Nassau-Suffolk County committee addressing issues of equity and inclusion in libraries. Throughout her impressive career, Kelly Harris has worked tirelessly to strengthen our libraries, expand access to important services, and foster greater connections with the communities that these libraries serve. So I congratulate Kelly Harris and all of our outstanding librarians of 2023. I thank them for their efforts enhancing our libraries and strengthening our communities. And again, Senator Chu, thank you for recognizing them, and I proudly vote aye, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Palumbo. Senator Martins on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Chu, for this resolution. I, too, have a history as a former president of the Mineola Village Library prior to being elected mayor and prior to coming to the state Senate. So I know firsthand the importance of libraries, but, Mr. President, I want to take the opportunity, because when we first formed the Library Committee here in the New York State Senate, I want to remember a colleague of ours, Senator Hugh Farley, who for years served as chair of that committee and was the great protector of libraries. Every year we could count on Senator Farley to remind us just how important our libraries are in New York State. From cradle to grave, libraries have been a constant source of not only, as Senator Gennard has said, not only books, but portals to information and to education. More often than not, it's where people first and children first learn to read. It's also where they continue to read long into their golden years. So I stand, Mr. President, to salute not only the resolution, but all of the libraries and the commitment that our state has had over the years to continuing to fund our libraries in the spirit of funding that continued cradle-to-grave education. We frankly should do more, but for all we do, thank you to our great libraries, librarians, and staff who do so much with so little. Mr. President, I proudly vote aye.
Thank you, Senator Martins. The resolution was previously adopted on April 25th. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, the various sponsors of all of today's resolutions would like to open them up for co-sponsorship.
All of these resolutions are open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor, please notify the desk. Senator Gianaris.
Let us take up the reading of the calendar.
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 197, Senate Print 264 by Senator Stuart Cousins, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stuart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 197, voted negative, Senators Martins and Rhodes. Ayes 59, nays 2.
The bill is passed.
Thanks, Bob. Calendar number 227, Senate Print 2196 by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the executive law and the administrative code of the city of New York.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stuart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to Calendar 227, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Canzoneri Fitzpatrick, Gallivan, Hellman, Martins, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Rollison, Steck, Tedisco, Walzig, Weber, and White. Ayes 42, nays 19.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 373, Senate Print 3334 by Senator Mayer, enactment of the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 405, Senate Print 2599 by Senator Hoyman Siegel, an act in relation to establishing a dyslexia and dysgraphia task force.
Read the last section.
Section 2 is act to take effect January 1st, 2024.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator Hoyman Siegel to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to thank my colleagues for supporting this legislation that would establish a dyslexia and dysgraphia task force and implementing the findings of such task force. I want to thank Senator Mayer and Senator Lieu for their support of this legislation as chairs of the State Education, Senate Education Committee and New York City Education Committee. You know, dyslexia and dysgraphia are inherent problems in our educational system because we don't have a roadmap in New York State to deal with it. As many as 20% of our school children are dyslexic, meaning they can't read. And I can tell you this because my daughter, who's age 12, is part of that 20% cohort. We didn't learn that she was dyslexic in my family until she was in 4th grade. Essentially, there's no screening of children who might be dyslexic or have dysgraphia. So they come into the system without the support they need. There are proven methodologies to assist children with dyslexia. One called Orton Gillingham is over 100 years old, yet very few of our schools actually utilize this proven method of teaching children with dyslexia. And fundamentally, we are not addressing this problem. Undiagnosed or stigmatized dyslexia in kids has been tied to low motivation, low self-esteem, anxiety and depression, as well as low literacy and higher rates of dropping out of school entirely. And what's the impact on society? Well, there are staggering statistics that show that 48% of individuals who are incarcerated have dyslexia or dysgraphia. That's in addition to the 80% of incarcerated individuals who are functionally illiterate. We are not doing enough to solve this problem. Dyslexia is an education equity issue. It's a social justice issue. It's an issue that, frankly, needs to be at the forefront of our efforts in this chamber and in the state legislature. I was very disappointed that on Thanksgiving Eve, this legislation was one of 40 bills that the governor summarily vetoed on that Thanksgiving night massacre. We need to pass this legislation again, send it back to the governor, and ensure that our kids with dyslexia and dysgraphia have the support they need from our body. Thank you, Mr. President. I vote aye.
Senator Hoyman Siegel to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Aye 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 456, Senate Print 5163 by Senator Harkin, enactment of the mental hygiene law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 570, Senate Print 1319 by Senator Rivera, enactment of the public health law and the insurance law.
Read the last section.
Section 23, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to Calendar 570, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, and White. Ayes 56, nays 5.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 593, Senate Print 1999 by Senator May. An act to amend the Alcoholic Beverage Control Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act take effect on the 30th day after the child become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator May to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is my privilege to represent the town of Lafayette and the Beacon Skiff Orchard that is located there with its 1911 cidery, which has won a number of awards in New York State for its cider. I represent 2 or 3 other cideries in my new district. New York is the second largest apple producing state in the country and one of the great apple growing regions in the world. We have over 100 hard cider producers, and their economic impact is estimated at $1.7 billion a year. But it could be much higher than that if we could just get this bill passed through both houses and signed. Because our cideries operate at a disadvantage. We have an interesting cider licensing law in New York State that requires that they use 100% New York State ingredients, which is a great thing. But because there's a separate cidery license, they operate on a different playing field from the cideries in California and Washington State and Oregon and Vermont, which are counted under a winery license. Wineries are allowed to sell their products directly online for direct shipment to consumers. And so cideries in those other states can do that here in New York State, but our cideries cannot. So they have a real disadvantage in the marketplace. This bill will fix that, will allow them to ship directly to consumers here in New York State and elsewhere. There have been some concerns that this might not work for various reasons, but it actually was implemented in the early years of the pandemic and was extremely successful. So we know it can work without the kinds of hiccups that some people are worried about. So there is no reason why we shouldn't pass this law. I urge my colleagues to vote for it and our friends in the Assembly to pass it and the governor to sign it. Thank you. I vote aye.
Senator May to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 602, Senate Print 2863 by Senator Martinez, an act to amend the General Municipal Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to Calendar 602, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Canzone Fitzpatrick, Gallivan, Griffo, Lanza, Martins, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Rhodes, Rollison, Steck, Tedisco, Walzik, and Weber. Ayes 44, nays 17.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 615, Senate Print 1693 by Senator Parker, an act to amend the New York State Urban Development Corporation Act.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 626, Assembly number 3172A by Assembly Member Zabrowski, an act to amend the insurance law.
Laid aside. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
On to the controversial calendar, please.
Secretary, ring the bell. Secretary will read.
Calendar number 626, Assembly number 3172A by Assembly Member Zabrowski, an act to amend the insurance law.
Senator Lanza, why do you rise?
President, I believe there's an amendment at the desk. I waive the reading of that amendment and ask that you recognize Senator Martins.
Thank you, Senator Lanza. Upon review of the amendment in accordance with Rule 6, Section 4B, I rule it non-germane and out of order at this time.
Accordingly, Mr. President, I appeal the ruling of the chair and ask that Senator Martins be recognized and heard on the appeal.
The appeal has been made and recognized, and Senator Martins may be heard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to appeal the ruling of the chair. The proposed amendment is germane to the bill at hand because the bill at hand relates to inspections for private passenger automobiles. The amendment before us repeals the fee that private passenger automobiles face as they travel back and forth from outside of Lower Manhattan, including from the outer boroughs and suburbs of New York City, and also provides increased transparency in public transit. You know, Mr. President, I've heard often from members in this body who voted for congestion pricing and say that it was inserted into the budget and therefore they had no choice. You know, I believe we always have the opportunity to oppose bad legislation. Well, here's the choice. By supporting this amendment, we have the opportunity to correct the mistake and help constituents back home. And I urge all of my colleagues to take this opportunity, especially as the state has a multi-billion-dollar surplus. The amendment that I proposed is one of the solutions to the affordability crisis here in New York. Millions of New Yorkers commute to their jobs in the city every day and are forced to pay a tax just to get to work. Instead of taxing workers, we should be focusing on the longer-term solution, quality public transportation. That is why the other part of this amendment brings sunshine and transparency to the MTA so that the riders who use it are getting the best possible service at an affordable cost. Congestion pricing is expected to cost hardworking New Yorkers over $1 billion a year, something they simply can't afford. And Mr. President, make no mistake, this is a tax on workers and on the middle class. A teacher making $65,000 a year driving back and forth could be paying an extra $100 a week just to get to work. When prices at the grocery store are at an all-time high and congestion pricing taxes not only commuters, but the very trucks that deliver our food, putting further pressure on what people are paying at the grocery store. Congestion pricing is not something New Yorkers can afford, and that is why it must be repealed. The real answer, Mr. President, to traffic and air pollution isn't taxing drivers, but providing better public transit. That is why it is critical to ensure that the city's public transit system is using taxpayer dollars wisely and delivering the most efficient service possible. This amendment calls for an independent audit of the MTA to shine a light on how it is spending New Yorkers' hard-earned money and identifying areas where savings can be passed on to the people of New York State. For years, Mr. President, the MTA has operated with deficits and needing cash injections from the legislature. Even with all of that money, we still hear from thousands of commuters who complain of subpar service. We, each of us, have a responsibility to our residents to ensure that money is spent responsibly, and it is vital that we take that responsibility seriously. As we continue to come to work every day facing a budget that is almost a month late and the latest in 13 years, we appear to be getting no closer to a deal. So we cannot ignore the relief that New Yorkers need. This amendment would provide just that. For these reasons, Mr. President, I strongly urge you to reconsider your ruling.
Thank you, Senator Martins. I want to remind the House that the vote is on the procedures of the House and the ruling of the chair. Those in favor of ruling the chair signify by saying aye. Aye. The ruling of the chair stands and the bill in chief is before the House. Senator Murray, why do you rise?
This is on the original bill. Mr. President, would the sponsor of the bill yield for a few questions?
Will the sponsor yield? The sponsor
Yes.
yields.
Thank you, Senator. Can you first explain what is the purpose of the bill? What are the changes that we are making with this bill?
The purpose is this bill originally was passed in 1977. Really the advent of serious insurance of motor vehicles. And it required, under that legislation that was passed in 1977, that a picture be taken of the car before it was insured. Now we're in 2023, legislation to say, at the option of the insurer, that can be waived. And it'll This bill was vetoed by the governor last year and made some changes, was put into the budget. So they put a sunset in, 5 years to review it, and we're at that point right now for the legislation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the sponsor continue to yield?
Will the sponsor yield?
Sponsor yields.
The sponsor yields.
By the way, thank you. You answered the second question there with, with that explanation. I appreciate that. But you'd mentioned that it makes it optional. In other places where this is done, it has pretty much died out. Isn't that right? If you're given an option of doing something or something that would be considered another step, and you're given that option, wouldn't you choose just not to do it?
Possibly, that's a possibility, but in this case, the option is really, there's been this process in law for 50 years. Now the recommendation is to change it, but it's to provide, at least initially, an option on the part of the insurer, not on the consumer. And if you allow the new part, then you don't have to have a driver of a car meet somebody to have a picture taken, take off of work. If it doesn't happen, come back. And if all parties are satisfied that a photograph is not necessary, and obviously there are insurance companies that look, and they look to see if there's a degree of fraud, and there hasn't been, that at least start with the ability to provide an option to the consumer at the approval of the insurance.
Mr. President, would the sponsor continue to yield?
Yep.
Will the sponsor yield? The sponsor yields.
But we're not talking about everyone that drives. We're not talking about every vehicle. I mean, this is a small portion, basically a particular targeted area. In fact, it's only if you've been with your insurer for less than 2 years, so you're relatively new to your insurer, and you acquire a newer than 7-year-old used car, that's when you need to do this with the inspection. And again, that would be because of the possible existing damage that could be there, that could be claimed later. So we're not talking about a major burden upon every driver across the state, are we?
No, we're not.
A very small segment, in fact. So why, I'm sorry, Mr. President, would the sponsor continue to yield?
Will the sponsor yield?
Are you suggesting we expand the bill?
The sponsor yields.
Okay, thank you. No, I'm suggesting that we reach a compromise, and I'll get to that in a second. Have you spoken to any of the independent inspection locations about proposed compromises?
I personally have not, but I've dealt with all of the insurance associations representing the insurance companies. Universally, they say it's a waste of money to continue to have mandatory vehicle identification. Back in 1977, there weren't fraud units in DA's offices. There weren't state agencies that policed it. There weren't investigatory agencies that looked out to see if there was any criminal problems with this. And the answer's generally been no. And so a business decision is it's much better for the consumer to not have it, to have it be optional. And it's not an added expense on obviously it's a reduction on expense.
Thank you. On the bill, Mr. President.
Senator Murray, on the bill.
And I thank you, Senator, for the explanation, but I'm going to disagree a bit on some of them. For example, let's start with the veto message by the governor. It doesn't sound like any changes were made to address why she vetoed it. If signed, the bill before me would essentially remove important protections against fraud and customers in urban areas who already pay high insurance rates and would likely see their insurance rates increase. It would also have the unintended effect of harming the hundreds of small businesses that perform damage inspections across New York. Now, we bring this up, and the reason I brought up the fact that it doesn't apply to everyone, and this is not a major burden. However, it will have a major impact. It will have an impact on ratepayers all across the state. How do I know this? Because Massachusetts just passed something very similar. They had the same law in place, and they made it optional. Here were the results from that change. When they did this, they found that when they did the optional program, they found that inspections dropped by 87%, collision claims climbed by nearly 55%, and premiums spiked by 61%. Now, the reason I asked if you had spoken to any of the independent inspection locations is because well, listen, we all understand technology, great advancements, and we should embrace that when we can. But there's an old saying about pictures. A picture's worth 1,000 words. And whether it was in the 70s or whether it is today, that still holds true. The picture is the proof. You're not going to replace that with a VIN number or something like this. The protections offered by the photo inspection program are unique and not duplicated by any existing program, and no other program will replace it. How do I know that photos are important? They're even important to the insurance companies. Well, let's look at Allstate, who says, take care of your claim in a snap. You see, these local insurance inspection companies would like to compromise by maybe offering that up as an option. So the insured can take the pictures themselves, submit it to these companies that will then verify and still have the proof there. So we can compromise here without putting people out of work, without raising insurance rates, without increasing the cases of fraud, by using the very technology, but still keeping the pictures in place. As I said, this is Allstate who is promoting using pictures. Quick Photo Claim is their program, can assess your insurance claim virtually to get you through the process as quickly as possible. So now the burden's gone, and I will be a little parochial here too, because myself and several other senators from Long Island, we have one of these companies, a major company, that if this were to pass, they would likely be out of business, putting hundreds of families or people out of work, taking the food off the plates of the families. In fact, I just got a text just before this from the LIA, Long Island Association, who also opposes this bill for that very reason. The reason of putting people out of work and also raising insurance claims. So while I do understand where the sponsor's coming from with this, I get it. I get that we can use technology. I think there's a way that if we continue working on this and maybe compromise, I know it's a foreign word in Albany, but compromise, that maybe we can make this the best bill it could be. So for that reason, I'll be voting no. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, we've agreed to restore this bill to the non-controversial calendar, so
Upon
can we
consent,
take it up that way, please?
Secretary Reed. Read the last section.
Section 2 is act to take effect on the 180th day of shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator White to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill has been proven. It was brought to us for the purpose of eliminating theft and lowering insurance rates. It's crucial that we keep this bill, these protections in place. And by eliminating it, by trying to streamline services, that we're going to see an absolute spike. We've already seen lots of numbers and statistics that prove that without these photos, theft and insurance fraud happens rampantly. These provisions were put in place in order to bring those down, and as soon as those bills were introduced in order to make photos available, we immediately saw these numbers come down. I'm disappointed to see that this bill has been reintroduced, and for that reason, I'm voting no.
Senator White to be recorded in the negative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 626, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Canzonite Fitzpatrick, Lanza, Martinez, Matera, Murray, Palumbo, Rhodes, and White. Ayes 53, nays 8.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
If we could return briefly to motions, I wish to call up the following bills which were recalled from the Assembly and are now at the desk. Senate print numbers 3139 and 3114.
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 370, Senate Print 3139 by Senator Mannion, an act to amend the private housing finance law. Calendar number 431, Senate Print 3114 by Senator Mannion, an act to amend the state technology law.
Reconsider the vote by which these bills were passed.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins White, I-61.
The bills are restored to their places on the third reading calendar.
The following amendments.
The amendments are received and those bills retain their place on the third reading calendar.
Is there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at the desk.
I move to adjourn to the call of the temporary president of the Senate, with intervening days being legislative days.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until the call of the temporary president of the Senate with the intervening days being legislative days.